Also happening today, President Trump is meeting with sports stars and coaches and league commissioners to discuss the future of college sports. Darren Botello is live at the White House with the details. Darren.
Hi, good morning, Brian. So anyone who follows college football knows it's in chaos right now. You have crazy money being thrown around. Some of these 19-year-olds driving around campus in Maseratis making more money than some investment bankers. And you have all of these deals that are just adding up more and more money, constant transfers. The president is saying enough is enough, and that's why he's holding this roundtable today. That's why he's holding it, to get everyone together, because they need to figure out how to protect the game before it's too late. It feels like it's not even amateur sports anymore. And he's not just talking to politicians like Governor Ron DeSantis. He brought in the guys who actually built these programs, from Nick Saban, like you talked about yesterday and today, to Urban Meyer, Tim Tebow, Tiger Woods, just to name a few of them. And having Nick Saban in the room is the big story here. Saban didn't retire because he couldn't coach anymore. He retired because he says the system is broken. He's been warning Congress for years that if they don't put some rules in place, the whole thing is going to collapse. Trump is taking the lead on this, using his executive power to push for national standards. The goal is simple, Brian: make sure players get paid, but also make sure the sport doesn't lose its soul to the highest bidder.
Before we can make this regulated and make it any kind of federal jurisdiction, we need to figure out exactly how we're going to make this a system with the process and procedures, and how we're going to also regulate this.
So, Brian, President Trump is getting all those heavy hitters in the White House today to discuss this issue, but we'll see if Congress follows suit.
Congress doesn't do anything. So, I mean, I doubt Congress is going to follow suit, because they can't even agree if a boy is a boy or a girl is a girl and what sport they're supposed to be playing. And so I hope it doesn't have, they're not sitting back relying on Congress. Friday, and it's a different kind of Friday. You know, it's funny, when I found out that President Trump was doing this roundtable with all of these professional athletes, coaches, Olympic committee, it's a veritable who's who in amateur sports, if there's any such thing anymore as amateur sports. You know, I knew back when I was in college, and this was a long time ago, the haves would always have more than the so-called have-nots. And yes, there was payola happening way back then. They just were able to hide it a little bit different. You know, you'd get a different dining pass. You'd get a gas fund for your car. There was always something, some perks that you got that was different than what everybody else was available. And now it's a full-on cash payment. There is no longer an amateur sports business. And I think one of the reasons why people are upset is because they used to make all the money. The athletes never made the money. The athletes would go out there with their sweat and blood and vigor to do everything they possibly could. And the NCAA and the schools made millions, tens of millions, lots of millions. And then, you got the argument, well, you're getting a free education. You know what? If I can get paid $2 million by Nike, I'll pay for my own tuition. I don't need you to give me the benefit of, a few bucks for my tuition. And so it actually has, I will agree, it has gotten out of hand, because now it's reaching down to the high school level. My grandson literally just turned 16 or 17. 16, no, 70, he's 17 coming up. And he's talking about NIL in high school. And he's already looking at what money can I get from this school if I go here or go there. So it's prominent, it's prevalent. These kids are getting paid. And I didn't schedule this conference. President Trump scheduled this conference. President Trump said, today it's Friday, and I'm going to have this conference about football and other sports in college. And I posted, hey, President Trump's got a roundtable coming up, and people got pissed off. People got pissed off. Well, this must be a deflection. It's from the Epstein files and the war and the bad job report. And I thought to myself, can't people walk and chew gum at the same time? Do they not realize there are other issues in this country that he still has to address? Do people not understand he's the president for all of America? Not the ones who want to talk about Epstein, not the ones who want to talk about the job reports, but even people who want to talk about football. And here I am in the South, and I can tell you, it's just March. And everybody is talking about the NFL draft. The NFL combine just ended. All these athletes had to go into Indianapolis and basically do their, field work and get measured and get weighed. And how big are your hands? Yes, they measure your hands. It is a huge deal. So the combine just ended. The draft is next up on the schedule. And then, of course, after that, we're already in free agency, basically. But it officially doesn't open for another week or so. And then kids are training, getting ready to go into spring football. And then you've got late July, August, the season. And so I asked people today who were bitching about it on Twitter, like, hey, man, this is important to some people. Obviously, it's important to some people. Here's what I had posted, and I sincerely meant this. There are people on X mad because the president is talking about sports today. People off of X who have actual lives and are hugely interested in college sports want to hear what's going to be done about this. And I'm like, don't be in the first group of people. Enjoy your life. And sometimes with all the craziness that's going on, the war, what's going on with Kristi Noem, which I told you about yesterday, we're going to get into that. Sometimes it's nice, just especially on a Friday, to take a step back and let's talk about something a little bit less problematic, a little bit less intense. And as it's the president who's going to be talking about this isn't Barry's forum. I didn't create this roundtable event. I'm going to cover it. I'm not going to ignore it. So we have a little bit of football coming up in about an hour if he's on time. But before then, we'll cover some news because there is some news out there that we need to discuss. And we shall. So we'll get to that as soon as we start the show here. Today's sponsor is Primal.life. You know what's insane? The new research that has found microplastics all over your body. Yep, the same junk that comes from bottles and packaging are lodged inside the arteries of over half the people studied. Over 50% of people, they are finding microplastics in your bloodstream. And get this, those with microplastics were 4.5 times more likely to have a heart attack or a stroke. That makes it a big deal for sure. They're in your food, your water, even in your phone, even on your steering wheel. And while RFK Jr. says he's cracking down, the $1.1 trillion plastic industry isn't going quietly. So it's on us to protect ourselves and make sure we're not consuming this stuff or letting it get into our bodies. You can start with a few simple things. And those few simple things are like maybe a natural drink that lowers blood pressure by 12 points, an ancient stress lowering trick, and a Chinese dragon tea that helps even the unhealthiest among us. I can't share all the details here because it would take me an hour for sake of time, but there's a free video that explains it all. Just scan this QR code or go to myprimal.life/BarryBP and see how thousands of folks are ditching meds and getting their blood pressure under control naturally. Don't wait. Your heart and your freedom will most assuredly thank you. All right, let's get on with the show.
One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so Caroline Leavitt, much to my surprise today, with everything that's going on, or what some people think is not going on with President Trump doing his football roundtable, she came out and did two separate press appearances. She did an appearance on Fox News, and she also did a appearance in what they call the Sticks. I can intimately tell you about the Sticks now. Ashley could too if she's on here, because that's exactly where we were and how we entered into the White House. So without further ado, let's get to her first appearance on Fox.
Caroline, thanks for being with us this Friday afternoon. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to start you off this afternoon because we have confirmed reports from U.S. officials that Russia is providing intelligence to Iran to help it target U.S. assets in the region. I'm sure this is something that does not please the president whatsoever. Has he spoken to Putin about it?
Well, look, I'll leave that to the president to answer himself. But what I will tell you, John, we don't comment on intelligence reports that are leaked to the press. Whether or not this happened, frankly, it does not really matter, because President Trump and the United States military are absolutely decimating the rogue Iranian terrorist regime. We are now on day 6 of Operation Epic Fury. The United States military has impressively established dominance and air superiority over the skies of Iran. We have sunk and destroyed more than 30 of their Navy ships. And of course, the goals of this operation have been laid out and very clear. Completely annihilate Iran's Navy, which again, we are well on our way to doing. Their Navy has now been deemed combat ineffective. Secondly, take out their ballistic missile weaponry arsenal capacity, which we are very much doing. In fact, their retaliatory ballistic missile strikes against the United States and our allies in the region have decreased 90% just over the course of the last 6 days. And of course, the overall mission in this operation is to ensure that Iran can never again possess a nuclear weapon. That was the real imminent threat that was posed by Iran to the United States and our personnel in the region. And President Trump and the United States military are focused on tackling this threat every single day. Caroline.
So I don't know how she does it, but she can go on a rip and go for like minutes at a time. So what she just said pissed off people. Not just pissed them off, caused a lot of consternation, caused people to ask questions. If you heard what she said, she goes, whether it's true or not, and then she went on. And people are like, what do you mean whether it's true or not? It's a big deal. It's from the Washington Post, you know. And if it's real, Pete Hegseth or President Trump will address it. But right now, it doesn't matter. And she was she was completely right. It doesn't matter. And the media will find the smallest sliver of a statement and try to make a big deal of it. Why does it not matter? It doesn't matter because we're blowing the crap out of them. And think about this for a second. And I think I did post about it. If Russia is giving Iran information information about United States assets, understand what she actually said and what that means. One, we don't know if it's true. Nobody has said it's true. Number two, if Russia is giving Iran information, I am pretty sure our intelligence community is a lot more in tune than the Washington Post, which means Pete Hegseth and Raising Cane would know about it and would have known about it when it happened. They would have known about it way before the Washington Post did. Number three, even if Iran was given some information with or from Russia, how are they going to do anything? Their supplies, their ability to respond is being decimated. No one wanted to ask that question. If Russia found out, yeah, United States has got a bunker over there, good luck. Try it. See what happens. And I think I saw, man, sometimes looking on X is just a painful exercise in futility. People are dusting this all up at this point. What do you mean, Iran? Let's go back to number one. Shall we? Can we go back to number one? You don't even know if it's true. But that's what the media does.
Welcome to you. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. So as the president demands this unconditional surrender from Iran, there is major movement in the U.S. energy markets. Crude oil.
All right, before we get there. All right, so let me turn off the comments because I got to show this to you so you guys can see it. So in case you're not aware, President Trump said no deals, none, not even this much. You don't even get steak knives. We don't want nothing from you. Hold on, let me turn off the comment so I can show this to you. What number is that? What number is the comment? There it is. Okay. President Trump posted this, and it's a pretty big deal. Where is it here? All right, here we go. It says, quote, there will be no deal with Iran except, in bold letters, unconditional surrender. After that, and the selection of a great and acceptable leader, we and many of our wonderful and very brave allies and partners will work tirelessly to bring Iran back from the brink of destruction, making it economically bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Iran will have a great future. Make Iran great again. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So the President of the United States posts and says, no deals. No deals, unconditional surrender. He is basically offering them the Japan deal. You remember when we dropped the two big bombs, Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and they were like, okay, no more of that, please. Well, come over and unconditional surrender. That's what he's demanding from Iran. And so I guess it freaked people out because he's like, unconditional. There are no conditions. I know you want us dead, and that's a hard line for you. And on our side, in fact, they're talking about it with FDR did it to, it's so funny. They're talking about it when FDR did it to Japan. There's no place for you to go. You've already told me you want America dead, death to America. Well, we're telling you, death to Iran. You know, in no uncertain terms, an unconditional surrender means we're going to blow the hell out you. And that's how it's going to be.
Oil right now is spiking. It's up 14%, topping $90 a barrel. In fact, right now it's at $92 a barrel. You've seen a drop in the U.S. stock market. Can you share with us the concerns the president may have, especially as gas prices are now, let's see, they're back up to $3.32 a gallon after dropping to $2.90 just 1 month ago, Caroline?
What a stupid question. What a stupid question by Fox. And she knows better. She used to be with Fox Business. You're in an unstable situation. The world right now is unstable. It will not stabilize until things are over. So people are going to have to understand right now, pull up your big boy and big girl pants and deal with it. Oh, that doesn't sound good, Barry. Oh, that's awful. No, we all have to, this is a war per se. I know they're not calling it a war, but we all have to put in. We all have to sacrifice. God knows 6 guys have already, or ladies have already given their part. They've given their lives. And people here are going to complain because they're paying, a few cents more for gas right now. When I invest in a property, and we're getting ready to close on the one I told you guys about, I know going into it, we're going to have to outlay some cash, whether it's to fix the kitchen, update the bathrooms, do some flooring. We know we have to update things. We know we have to put in. We have to come out of pocket. And we do that because we can look down the road and say, 2, 3, 4 months, when we sell this thing, we're going to recoup our investment. And I almost feel like people don't understand investing. You're investing in America right now. You're going to do what you can do to help the team, which is great because today's sports day. And I can't believe that Sandra Smith would say something like that. People are upset because they're paying a couple extra, cents of gas. If America can prevail, if America can win, which it will, isn't it worth your investment? And if you say no, then, that's your problem. You can be a Democrat. You can be a libnut. I want to invest in America's future, and if it costs me a couple extra dimes at a gas pump, I'm okay with that.
Well, rest assured to your audience and to the American people, this is long something that President Trump, his Energy Secretary Chris Wright, his Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent have thought about and have been planning for and have already announced action in response to. Let me just walk you through the president's thinking on this. We have to focus on the short term and the temporary goals of Operation Epic Fury to obliterate the Iranian regime will be a very good thing for the energy and oil markets and for oil prices across the globe in the long term, when you no longer have a terrorist regime that is restricting the free flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz and to the rest of the world. So that's not
that's what I can't understand. In fact, the bigger part that you can't understand is what was gas when Biden was here? Well, what did they do when they depleted the petroleum reserve? And people were like, oh, gas is $5-6 a gallon. And right now it got down to $2.80 and $2.90. In some places, $2.50 or less. And now it's gone up a little bit. And people are complaining. That tells me you're spoiled. That tells me that you were a beneficiary of what Trump was doing. You see, by complaining about the gas prices now means you liked the gas prices last month, and those gas prices last month were because of what President Trump was doing. Now, all of a sudden, oh my God, I can't believe it went from $3.05 to $3.19. Deal with it. Absolutely deal with it. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because it's a shared deal withing it. We all have to pull up the big boy and big girl pants and say, we support America. If you want some history, go back and read your history books and find out what everybody was doing back here in America back when World War II was going on. People were taking up jobs. They were cranking rivets, Rosie the Riveter. Everybody was putting in so that we could win World War II because it meant that much to us. I mean, people were getting jobs. They were doing all kinds of things just so America could crank out the tanks. We didn't have enough tanks to fight over there. We didn't even have enough bombs. And people were working 3 shifts trying to get all the supplies over to Germany. And then we got people complaining because gas might be a couple more cents.
Number one. Number two, the president has also announced some tangible actions over the course of the last few days. First, to provide political risk insurance to cargo vessels in the region. Secondly, to ensure that there is a free flow of energy and that we are drilling expeditiously here at home and that we're tapping into these newfound markets in Venezuela as well. And then again, the president has also made that directive very clear to his energy team. And you saw Secretary Burgum was just in Venezuela yesterday with some of the world's biggest oil companies who have committed to investments. And Delcy Rodriguez herself said that they are working at Trump speed to tap into these markets.
But see, that's what the problem is. And when I sat with Chris Wright, when we went to Washington, D.C., that's exactly what I said to him. I said, your messaging sucks. They're beating you up on messaging. They are telling people, oh, the world is burning. Things are so bad. And you guys, how many times did you see anybody talk about the Venezuela story yesterday? I did a big piece on it here, and you saw Delcy Rodriguez and Doug Burgum talking and all the different investment they're doing while the war, or whatever you want to call it, is going on in Iran. They are doing Plan B and Plan C to get the oil running from Venezuela. But I just didn't see anybody talking about it in the media, which is what some of these people rely on. The media is not going to tell you that. That's why your service is addition to spread the message. Get out there, tell people, hey, it's coming. Venezuela's cranking up their thing. We're insuring the ships in the Straits of Hormuz. It's coming. But people have become impatient because they hate Trump. And the Democrats will go to any length. They'll stand up at a funeral and complain about Trump. And meanwhile, we've got panicans and black pillars. Everybody talks crap. You know what's so funny? I find people who keep saying things like, I'm against the war. And I think to myself when I hear people say that, is like, aren't we all? Aren't we all against war? I mean, nobody says, you know what, let's go blow someplace up just for shits and giggles. No, but war is a part of government. When it's necessary, it must be waged. You just can't sit back on a couch and say, I don't like war, when you have to realize the ability for you to say those words, for you to say, I don't want war, is because you're safe, idiot. Because you can sit there on your couch or your computer or your phone and say, I don't like war, because you have the freedom to say it. Look around. We have people in our own government who want to take that freedom away from you. There are people in other countries like Iran who want to take that away from you. So when you say things like, I don't like war, what you're saying is, in essence, you don't like freedom, because there are always aggressors out there who are willing to take your freedom away, and given the opportunity, they will yank it away from you. Even people in our own government.
And then lastly, the president has also announced that the United States Navy will escort cargo ships through the region if and when necessary.
All right, so we'll look forward to that happening. Yesterday in the House, there was a vote that was taken to reaffirm the U.S.'s view that Iran is the leading state sponsor of terrorism in the world. When a similar vote was taken 3 years ago, the vote was 420 to 1. Yesterday, 53 Democrats voted against that resolution, prompting Steve Scalise to say, quote, we just had a vote in the House to simply affirm the fact that Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terrorism. 53 Democrats voted no. By denying this basic fact, these radical Democrats are defending the murderous Iranian regime and standing against America. I want to invite you.
You heard what I just said a second ago, right? That there are people here in this country who would love nothing better than to shut you up and take away the freedom that many people are taking for granted. And now we find out that 53 Democrats had the audacity to actually say, no, they're not bad people. You know, I saw a poll today that said 38% of people want socialism. 38. I don't know the veracity of it, but the fact that it's more than 2% is scary. When you look at the 50 people who voted no and wanted to say that Iran is not a terrorist country, that means if you just do the simple math, there's 400 or so House members, and you count both sides, 440 or whatever. That means a little over 12% of your government is okay with Iran. Let that sink in. Do the math yourself. 53 said, no, we're good with Iran. and there's 435, 440. So you can do the math and figure out it's right there about 11 or 12% of your government, not Iran's government, of your government is saying, yeah, they're all right. And people are complaining about an extra 10 cents.
To weigh in on this. And as you do that, we're going to put up on the screen here a scroll of all of the terror attacks that have occurred since 1979 at the behest of the Iranians. Go ahead.
Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. Nearly 3 years ago in 2023, every single member of the House of Representatives, with the exception of one, voted together on this resolution condemning Iran as the world's state-leading sponsor of terror. This is not just long-standing bipartisan policy of the United States, but nearly every single country on the planet, especially Western countries, have agreed with this basic premise. And now in 2026, you have Democrats on Capitol Hill who have been so debilitated by their derangement and their hatred for the man in the Oval Office right now that they cannot even condemn the world's leading state sponsor of terror. Why? Because they are trying desperately to try to undermine President Trump's essential action that he took to protect the United States of America, to protect our bases and our troops in the Middle East, and to ultimately ensure a more safe and prosperous world, not just in the Middle East, but across the entire globe as well. And that's just 53 Democrats who have lost their minds. But if you look at Capitol Hill overwhelmingly across the board, and if you look abroad to countries around the world, the NATO Secretary General, even our partners in the Gulf and our Arab partners in the region, commending and thanking President Trump for finally having the courage to do what so many past American presidents on both sides of the aisles did not have the courage to execute, which is to finally, once and for all, end the threat posed by the rogue Iranian terrorist regime to the United States of America and to our people.
Well, Caroline,
you know, she said a key word there again, and I listen for it very often. It's very prominent with the Trump administration, and it causes people to recoil like it's, you know, they've seen sunlight and they're zombies. She said prosperity. They want to bring prosperity to the world. They want to bring more prosperity to America. And 53 Democrats are like, no, we don't want that. We want you to live under the auspices of whether or not you're going to piss off some, you know, turban heads over there. We want them to feel okay. We want them to be included, but they want us dead. Oh, you'll get over it. I read a story today and I posted it, and I can't even believe what I read, that a judge gave a conditional release to a psychopathic, homicidal cannibal. You heard what I said. Yeah, we don't want to keep him in jail. Huh? You let out a guy who killed somebody, ate their brain and one of their eyeballs, and you gave him a conditional release. Barry's not making it up. Even Elon posted about it. Like, wait a second. Can I understand what you people are doing? You don't care about society. You don't care about people. There is no way a psychopath who killed somebody and then dined on them should be walking the face of the earth. Never mind. Hey, it's okay. Just check in every once in a while.
it happened live just about this time yesterday when we learned the news via President Trump on Truth Social that he would be nominating Senator Markwayne Mullin, the Republican from Oklahoma, to replace Kristi Noem as the DHS Secretary effective March 31st. Can you give us any further insight on that decision and the shakeup that we are seeing and what you expect the confirmation process to look like for Mullin?
Sure. Yeah, I know the president was very excited about Senator Markwayne Mullin moving into this role and being officially part of President Trump's team in the cabinet. The White House will be working with the Senate to confirm him as quickly as possible. And we thank Secretary Noem for her efforts over the past year. She will be moving into a new role at the State Department to oversee the new Shield of Americas. These are Western Hemisphere Latin American countries who are coming together both militarily and diplomatically to end the cartel trafficking, human trafficking and drug trafficking in the Western Hemisphere through Latin American countries and ultimately to the United States of America. So this is a very important effort. And in fact, President Trump will be heading to Doral, Florida tomorrow to speak with 17 heads of states from the Latin American countries to talk about this new historic organization that the Trump administration has led the way on and has put together.
And raise your hand if you think that's a coincidence. Raise your hand if you really think that he made the move to put Kristi Noem on the Avengers team and then move Mark Wayne Mullen into DHS. You think that it just happened on the same day that Pete Hegseth and the generals and all the generals from other countries were down here in Miami meeting about how they're going to take care of Latin America and in the Western Hemisphere? You think that was a coincidence? Nope, I don't. I'm not buying it. And it's funny, I'm going to show you some stuff later. Somebody else isn't buying it. I'm like, did you watch my show? Because he almost said word for word what I said yesterday. And here it is, the day after she was supposedly fired, and still not much of any news has covered this Avengers team, even though the president is coming down here tomorrow. Have you seen many people talking about it? I haven't. Think it's a coincidence that he's coming down here at the same time yesterday he mentioned, hey, we might end up taking over Cuba. It's coming, you'll see. And he's coming down here. We're going to go into that in depth too. I might have to do it after the press conference. But I wanted to show you this at least. Where is this? This post I put up. Imagine if, in your life, you being fired, and you're finding out instead of dealing with libtards, poop for brains media, rhinos and Democrats, especially in the House, you'll now be working hand in hand with Presidents Javier Milei from Argentina, Rodrigo Paz from Bolivia, Rodrigo Chavez from Costa Rica, Daniel Noboa from Ecuador, Nayib Bukele from El Salvador, Nasri Aspera from Honduras, Jose Raul Molino from Panama, and Santiago Pena from Paraguay, as well as President-elect Jose Antonio Cast from Chile, and Laura Fernandez from Costa Rica. And in your new job, you will have basically unlimited power outside the realm of Congress to go after bad guys and terrorists. As I wrote there, it must suck to be Kristi Noem to get that crappy job. That must really suck. I'm going to go into that in detail after the event because you'd have to have some serious convincing given to me that she's going to be able to deal with all these people, and she got fired. So you understand, well, I don't want to get into it too much now because I'll end up just talking too much about it. But we'll hold on. Just remember this thought about her being fired into the Avengers.
And we should also point out that tomorrow he'll be traveling to Dover, Joint Base Dover, to attend the dignified transfer of the remains of the 6 service members who were killed in the opening salvo that Iran launched at our forces. I wanted to come back to Iran, if I could here, because the president said that as he was in the Venezuela operation, he wants to be involved in whatever leadership takes over in Iran. He put this out.
My sound was on. I'm not sure why people said no sound. Sound has been working. I don't know, is this guy a troll or what? But the sound has been working. You made me question myself.
On Axios yesterday, he said, they're wasting their time. Khamenei's son is a lightweight. I have to be involved in the appointment, like with Delcy Rodriguez in Venezuela. Khamenei's son is unacceptable to me. We want someone that will bring harmony and peace to Iran. I would assume that in order for the president to have a voice in whoever takes over Iran, there has to be absolute total capitulation, as the president said, unconditional surrender on the part of Iran. I mean, they're not a regime that's been known to offer unconditional surrender. Does he think he can get that done?
Well, what President Trump means when he says unconditional surrender is when he, as commander-in-chief of the United States military and the leader of the free world, determines that Iran can no longer pose a threat to the United States of America and to our troops and our personnel in the Middle East. That is, again, the ultimate goal of Operation Epic Fury, to annihilate their Navy, to take out their ballistic missile threat, which we have largely done in the course of just 6 days, and then, of course, to ensure they can never obtain a nuclear weapon, to significantly weaken their proxies in the region that have killed and maimed hundreds of Americans throughout the years. We've seen the Houthis and Hezbollah have hardly put up a fight over the past 6 days. So we're already well on our way to achieving the objectives of Operation Epic Fury. And when the president determines that Iran no longer poses that threat, that's when that unconditional surrender will take place. As for the next leader of Iran,
Now hold on. Have we gotten to the point in society, in the media, that we don't understand what unconditional surrender means? You have to question that term. You're on a national news network, and you're actually asking the press secretary, oh, well, what did he mean by unconditional surrender? What part of that phrase do you not comprehend? What part of that phrase do libnuts not comprehend? Unconditional means no conditions. It's pretty simple. I went to high school. I went to grammar school. Unconditional. No conditions. Unhealthy. It's not healthy. Un usually means the preposition or the advanced part of the thing that you don't want. Unconditional. None. Who needs that explained to them? And then surrender. Wave the frickin' white flag, lay down your arms, or you're dead. And we have a major news network who just asked the press secretary, what exactly did he mean by unconditional surrender? Did you go to high school, bro? You understand what the word unconditional means, don't you? Does your audience not understand it? Or is it worse? Is it worse meaning, are there people in their audience who don't want us to be so hard on Iran? Don't make it unconditional. That's too tough. That's what I think they meant there. I don't think the words have any, you have no reason to have any clarity issues with it. The only thing you could possibly have an issue with is, we don't want you to go that far. Well, you pretty much have already gone that far. They've been blowing them up all over the place. The Ayatollah Assahola is dust. All the rest of his buddies are pink mist. They continue to blow up submarines. If they don't surrender, it's on them. If you're getting beat into submission and you don't surrender, you've seen MMA fights, they'll get your arm broke. Submit, period. Anybody who's been married knows what your wife says to you, you're going to have to unconditionally surrender. Yeah, you know what I mean.
The president has said, of course, it's in the best interest of the United States to have a leader that is no longer chanting death to America, that is no longer conspiring behind our backs and lying to the American people and to our government about proliferating a nuclear weapon, which Iran has been doing for decades. It's unacceptable to the president. That's why he decided to launch this operation, and that's his goal, and it will continue to be moving forward.
Caroline, we appreciate the private briefing. Will we be seeing and hearing from the president anytime this afternoon then?
Yes, you will. You'll see him at 4 o'clock this afternoon. He's hosting a college sports roundtable here at the White House with coaches and athletic experts from across the country. The president wants to save college sports. He signed an executive order on this topic last year. I know it's very important to him and to so many athletes across the country to fix the broken system. So you'll be hearing from him at that roundtable at 4 o'clock in the East Room here at the White House.
All right, so we've got like 15 minutes before this briefing is to begin. After she was done at that meeting, she went over to what they call the sticks, where all the media people are sitting there with their little green tents. And that's actually the door that Ashley and I got led into. So we walked past all the sticks. And it's pretty interesting seeing how they've got their setup and everything. But she comes down the hill and she does a little gaggle with the press there.
Hey guys,
Caroline. Carl, how are you? Good. How are you doing? Good, Monica. How are you? Good. You're getting close to your due date, and so am I. Hi, everybody. Good to see you out here. It's a busy day here, as you all know. The president will be meeting with defense contractors here at the White House in a few minutes with Secretary Hegseth. This is a pre-scheduled meeting, and the purpose of it is to talk about the president's aggressive and fierce support for rapidly increasing the ability of U.S. manufacturers to produce American-made weapons, which we know are the best in the world. The president signed an executive order on this earlier this year. This is a long-held policy objective of this administration, and so he'll be speaking directly with these defense contractors. But of course, as the president has maintained, we have more than enough ammunition, weapons, stockpiles to achieve the objectives of Operation Epic Fury and beyond. After that, you'll be hearing from the president directly at 4 p.m. in the East Room at the College Sports Roundtable. We have coaches and we have scholars and we have athletes from around the country who will be joining. I know some lawmakers will be up there as well. President, again, a long-sought goal is to fix college sports, and so he'll be holding a roundtable to hear from all of these great people in this afternoon, and you'll see him up there as well. Why don't we take a few questions? Sure.
Thank you very much. The president said that we're not going through all of this so that we can end up with another Khamenei, and he also said that we can keep this up forever. Does that mean that this current mentality in Iran remains in place? You're going to have to keep doing the fight.
I won't get ahead of the president on broadcasting any timelines. What I will tell you is what President Trump has already laid out, which is that the achievable objectives of Operation Epic Fury we expect to last about 4 to 6 weeks, and we are well on our way to achieving those objectives. Annihilating Iran's navy, we know that we've sunk more than 30 Iranian vessels and ships. Their navy has now been deemed combat ineffective, taking out the ballistic missile threat that Iran posed to the United States and our troops and bases in the region. We have done a tremendous job. The United States military has done a tremendous job at achieving that objective thus far. Just 6 days in, the retaliatory ballistic missile strikes from Iran are now down 90%. Of course, ensuring Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon as well, and significantly weakening their proxies in the region, which we know are responsible for the deaths of Americans. And we've seen Hezbollah and the Houthis hardly putting up a fight over the course of the last 6 days. Ultimately, the president has made it very clear he wants to take out the threat of Iran to the United States, and Operation Epic Fury is well on its way to doing that. As for the future of Iran, as the president has pointed to, of course it's in the best interest of the United States of America for Iran to no longer be led by a radical terrorist regime that chants death to America and is lying to the United States and the world about their secret ambitions to possess a nuclear bomb. President Trump does not want to see that. He wants to take an interest in pursuing who the next leader of the Iranian country is going to be, and that has yet to be seen, and the president is discussing it and deliberating it. Kristen.
What you just said on Fox that it doesn't really matter if Russia is giving Iran information about military assets. Why doesn't it matter if U.S. military is put in danger by Russia? And is that what the president believes as well?
All right, so in case you couldn't hear it, whoever this reporter is just watched Fox News, and they saw her on Fox News say it doesn't matter if Russia is giving Iran information. And so, of course, now she just asked her, what do you mean it doesn't matter?
Meant, Kristen, and thank you for giving me a chance to make it very clear, is that it clearly is not making a difference with respect to the military operations in Iran, because we are completely decimating them. As I said earlier, we've taken out nearly 30 of their ships. Their navy has been deemed combat ineffective. 90% reduction in ballistic missile retaliatory strikes against the United States and our Gulf Arab and partners in the region. So, of course, we are achieving the military objectives of this operation, and that is going to continue because the United States military is the best and most lethal fighting force in the world.
Okay, so what part didn't you understand? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's sort of like, we're going to be talking football later. It's sort of like you going up to play a certain team and you know their plays. But if you don't have the ability to stop them, it doesn't matter. There's nothing you can do. You don't have the ability to even stop us. And think about it, which is the stupidest thing that these reporters are saying. Do you not understand if there's intelligence that's being transferred, we're already hearing it. That's the stupid. I don't know what these people do, how they do this for a living. I don't know. It's crazy. I'm gonna. Should I jump and take this? Yeah, Fox is talking about Cuba, and I want you to hear this because with what's happening tomorrow.
Affirmed that Cuba's destiny will not be decided by the United States or any other nation. The future of Cuba will be decided by Cubans, not by anybody else. What I have said to President Castro is that we don't view Cuba as a threat to the United States.
Well, we know how Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, feels about this. He has wanted a free government and freedom for the people of Cuba for a very long time. Your take on the president suggesting this could be next?
Well, I think, Martha, what you're seeing is a president of the United States that is showing leadership and resolve. Someone who is not going to take lightly this unholy alliance that has been allowed to operate between China, Russia, Iran, Venezuela, North Korea, Cuba, and others. And you are seeing the dismantling of it before our very eyes. And I think when you look at what President Trump has been able to accomplish in just 13 plus months, you are seeing these regimes crumble. And the illicit.
See, that's what's bothering the left. The fact that President Trump, as you knew from USAID and Wally Nigerian and all the things that he's done to turn off their spigots of money and dig up their bolt holes where they've been working with Iran and Venezuela and Cuba and doing all the things that they need to do to subvert the American people. That's why the Democrats are freaking out. And he's doing it on so many different fronts, they can't stop him. Not say remember, what you should understand is every single one of these initiatives is a new clock. Whatever he did in Venezuela, and they say you can't do it, you got to come to us and tell us what you did with Maduro. It's already done. What? I have, what is it, 100 days, whatever, to tell you? I told you, we took him. It's done. Nothing to complain about. Whatever happens with Cuba will happen very quickly. It won't be 100 days. He can do it. And then the same thing with what we're seeing in Iran. So let's go back to Caroline.
Sure. Go ahead, Benny.
Can you confirm if U.S. has taken full control over the airspace in Iran, like it's been reported these past couple days? Trump said within hours, within days. Can you confirm anything along those lines?
Yes, we are well on our way to doing so.
Caroline, has the president's faith in Russia to cut a peace deal with Ukraine been shaken by the knowledge that Russia is apparently supplying intelligence to Iran in this conflict?
I think the president would say that peace is still an achievable objective with respect to the Russia-Ukraine war. You saw Special Envoy Witkoff put out a tweet yesterday announcing a new prisoner exchange between both Russia and Ukraine. So it's something this administration still wants to see and something I know the president will continue to work on.
Has he expressed any frustration to Putin about this intelligence?
I'll let the president speak on that directly. Mary.
When she says, I'll let the president speak about this, I wonder if one of these people are going to be stupid enough to ask him during today's event, because he's probably sitting there waiting for the question. And he'll be a lot less formal than Caroline's being if they ask him, aren't you worried about Russia telling, Iran some secrets?
What does the president mean when he calls for unconditional surrender? Is he saying...
I can't take it. It drives me crazy. I have too much intelligence. I'm not a brainiac. I'm not a scholar, but I know what the term unconditional surrender means. Who is their audience? Who are the people who listen to them if they don't understand what unconditional surrender means? I feel like we're having like kindergarten class, romper room with these people because they ask the stupidest questions. And watch, if he takes questions today after the event, they're going to do it again. So what did you mean by unconditional surrender? What does that mean? It's insulting to all of us. But yet, here she's got to answer it again.
That the regime has to fully relinquish control.
What the president means is that when he, as commander-in-chief of the U.S. Armed Forces, determines that Iran no longer poses a threat to the United States of America and the goals of Operation Epic Fury has been fully realized, then Iran will essentially be in a place of unconditional surrender. Whether they say it themselves or not, frankly, they don't have a lot of people to say that for them, because the United States and the state of Israel have completely wiped out more than 50 leaders of the former terrorist regime, including the Supreme Leader himself.
Caroline,
Monica?
thank you, Caroline. The president had a July 4th deadline for the One Big Beautiful Bill. Does he see a deadline for the Save America Act, as I know that's a priority of his to get passed?
As soon as possible, I know the president would say. This is a huge priority for the president. It remains one. I know he has added on some priorities to the Save America Act in recent days, namely no transgender transition surgeries for minors. We are not going to tolerate the mutilation of young children in this country, and no men in women's sports. And the president putting all of these priorities together, it speaks to just how common sense they are. These are all common sense priorities of this president that are backed by the vast majority of Americans, and he wants Republicans to act on them as quickly as possible.
You know what I'd say? You know what unconditional surrender means? Unconditional surrender means when we pass the Save America Act, we will pound the Democrats into submission and they will no longer be a viable party. Take that with your pipe and smoke it. Unconditional surrender. That's pretty much what the Save America Act is, which is why, once again, rhinos and people, certain Republicans are fighting it. They don't want unconditional surrender. These limp-wristed people that we've put in government aren't accustomed to having that kind of hammer. Let's stomp them out. You have the opportunity to make this opponent never be viable again. Wouldn't you guys want that? They'll never be effective. They can't cheat. So let's give them unconditional surrender as well. Stomp it out. Stop all the socialism out. Stop all these crazy programs. Make them have to show ID to vote, and you won't have to worry about anything. But people are freaking out. Oh my God, how am I going to get an ID? I don't know how to get an ID. That's not anything about taking away your right to vote. That's just you telling everybody you're freaking stupid. When you go outside and head towards your bus stop, because I guess you don't have a car because you don't have a driver's license. But as you're sitting in the bus stop and you're watching all the cars go by with people driving them, unless they're a Tesla, does it not dawn on you that all these people somehow have licenses? And then you see the kid who's 16 in the car. He has a license. But no, we can't make it. It's racist or something.
Thank you. Ken Paxton laid out some conditions yesterday, saying that he would drop out of the race if Senate leadership on the Republican side agreed to, getting rid of the filibuster, for example. What are the president's thoughts on that?
I won't get ahead of the president.
If you notice, if you're a body language person, she knows exactly, because before she answered, she had to lick her lips real quick. We know this, and we put them in a box. Well, in case you guys don't know, John Cornyn and Ken Paxton are running for the senator of Texas. And John Thune wants John Cornyn to be his best buddy and keep his Senate seat. So he has asked President Trump, can you endorse John Cornyn so he can win? At which point the rumor comes out and says, yeah, he'll endorse him if you guys agree to the, breaking up the filibuster. And now they're stuck. And then Ken Paxton came out with a post and almost like a proposal and said, yep, I'll back off. I'll let you be the senator from Texas if that saves America. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you took it like that? You did that? And now the rhinos are stuck.
On the Texas Senate race. I know it's of great interest to everyone. I'm no longer his political spokesperson. I'm a government spokesperson, so I'll let him speak on that directly.
You elaborated on the president's decision to tap Markwayne Mullin as the next DHS secretary. Can you talk a little bit about the rationale for the choice, why Mullin was the best candidate in his eyes, and also your message to congressional Democrats who continue to keep the DHS unfunded?
Yeah, well, Senator Markwayne Mullin has been a strong friend of the president and a big supporter of the president's immigration policies. Not only that, he's exceptionally talented, qualified, and I know well respected by his peers on Capitol Hill from both sides of the aisle. So we look forward to his expeditious confirmation, and I know the White House will be working with our counterparts in the Senate to make that happen as quickly as possible.
Sure. You see, the problem they had there, they asked the wrong question. The question is, they've already gone to his confirmation instead of asking, why Mark Wayne? What is it about him that President Trump wants him to take, because he fired Kristi Noem? Why him? Well, one, he's a fighter. He's former MMA, doesn't take no crap. Number two, he's well liked with the senators. So it's going to be an easy confirmation. It'll be seamless. And me personally, I think something bigger is coming. What they're not looking at is what's going on in Latin America and the Caribbean. They're not paying any attention to that. They're completely missing that. I'm going to tell you about that after the event.
Thank you, Caroline. The president has said he wants to be involved in Iran's future. He has also called the son of Supreme Leader Khamenei a lightweight, and he has also said that United States strikes have taken out the potential candidates. So does the United States now have any candidates or looking at candidates who may replace, who may lead Iran for the future?
I know there's a number of people that our intelligence agencies and the United States government are looking at, but I won't get any further on that. Sure.
Is the president satisfied with the pace of the investigation into whether the U.S. military did hit that Iranian school? Is the White House concerned that this was the United States?
Again, as I said at the briefing 2 days ago, I don't have any updates with respect to the investigation. I would expect those to come from the Pentagon. Sure, Haley.
That the U.S. was operating in the region of the school.
Again, I don't have any updates for you on the investigation. Those will come from the Pentagon directly. Haley.
Does the president believe Russia should face repercussion for providing intelligence to Iran as to target the U.S. military?
Again, I'll let the president speak on that directly.
Do you have any comment, Caroline, do you have any comment on the MAGA influencer divide on the Iran war? It seems like everyone acts, everybody's going at each other. Any message to both sides of the aisle?
I would just remind people X is not real life. This president lives in the real world. And with respect to MAGA, President Trump is the leader of MAGA. He's the creator of the MAGA movement. And there is nothing more America first than taking out terrorists who have maimed and killed our own servicemen and women, who chant death to America and who pose a threat to the homeland. And so President Trump is a leader of the peace through strength foreign policy doctrine. He attempted peace through diplomacy exhaustively and extensively with the rogue Iranian regime. And so they have been struck with the strength and the sheer might and will of the United States Armed Forces. And President Trump has proven he's a man of his word. If you go back and look, not just over the past year as president, but in his first term and in many years in his private life as well, when he has said that the Iranian regime can never obtain a nuclear bomb, well, now he's finally acting on it. And he has the courage to do what so many presidents in the past did not. We'll see you guys later.
I absolutely love how she said that. X isn't real life. I think sometimes people forget it. I mean, I know as I'm looking and I'm trying to find stories, it has gotten tremendously harder. And, a buddy of mine texted me yesterday and he's like, since you got back from Washington, you seem to have a different feel about things. And he's right. My feel about things at this point is that there's so much BS. There's so much going on out there that people are amplifying on X, because in this period of time, there is a little bit of a doldrum. There is a little bit of Iran fatigue. and there's nothing else for people to talk about. So they're putting stuff out there just so they can titillate people and get them to click here or watch this thing when it doesn't mean anything. And sometimes it doesn't even mean what they feel, what they think themselves. Just be careful out there right now, because I don't know what Tucker Carlson's doing. I don't know what Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing. I don't know what Nancy Mace is doing. It's so funny. Ashley texts me. She's like, it's getting very hard to get guests on the show because we have seen so many of these people flip-flop and become absolute nuts. And I'm like, Ashley, just, unless it's cabinet level or administrative level, like the people we met, let's not even talk to these people, because everybody thinks they're the authoritarian, that they are the people that you need to listen to when they don't know anything more than you. The one thing I learned in Washington, well, I learned a couple things, but one very strong thing I learned in Washington is everybody's guessing because nobody knows. Nobody knows what the heck Trump is doing. Nobody knows what Pete Hegseth is doing. They're not leaking. The leaks are being manifested. I mean, this whole thing about Russia giving Iran information. And she's like, so what? Well, that pretty much tells me, don't worry about it. We ain't worried about it. They can write their stupid stories. And then, of course, everybody talks about, oh, Russia's doing this and Russia's doing that. I haven't seen a single post by Trump saying, hey, Russia, I hate you. You shouldn't have done that. Nope, haven't seen it. Haven't seen Pete Hegseth. The stuff I do see is what I believe is important. The stuff that they are showing you. That's what we need to be paying attention. Well, I can't tell you what you should do. I'm just telling you, now I know to look and go, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Trump said this, he's doing this. And even then, he can be given a little bit of a head fake. And so you have to give it a little bit of time, 24, 48 hours, and make sure that, what he's saying is coming true. And we've got nothing bigger in terms that underscores that than to talk about what's coming up this weekend that nobody's talking about. I'm going to get into that. It's already after 4 o'clock. They haven't turned on the feed yet. So President Trump is probably, well, not probably, he's late. So it gives me a little chance to get into what I'm talking about in regards to what's happening down here and what happened yesterday down here. I'll be right back.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so we have a post from President Trump. This might be why he's late. Says he just wrapped up a meeting. Let's listen to what he says, or see what he says. We just concluded and this was at 3:46 p.m. We just concluded a very good meeting with the largest U.S. defense manufacturing companies where we discussed production and production schedules. They have agreed to quadruple production of the exquisite class weaponry, and that we want to reach as rapidly as possible the highest levels of quantity. Expansion began 3 months prior to the meeting on plants and production of many of these weapons are already underway. We have a virtual virtually unlimited supply of medium and upper grade munitions, which we are using as an example in Iran and recently used in Venezuela. Regardless, however, we have increased orders at these levels. The companies represented were CEOs of BAE Systems, Boeing, Honeywell, L3 Harris Missile Solutions, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Raytheon. The meeting concluded with another meeting scheduled in 2 months. States all over the country are bidding for these new plants. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So they're ramping up production of munitions for whatever. It's not just for Iran. See, that's where the short-sightedness is. You know, when you read this and he talks about everything here, he doesn't say it's just for Iran. You can read it. They're ramping up munitions more than likely because they see future engagements may occur. Now, I want to show you something while we're waiting. I want you to see what happened. Well, you saw it yesterday. The feed just came up, so I'm not going to have a chance. So we're gonna take this afterwards, as the feed has just come up. Let me make sure that we have a good signal on everything. Wow, that's a big table. Well, let me go ahead and I can talk while I'm showing you this. Where's that table? All right, here we got this. All right, so everybody's in the room right now getting ready. I may have time to show you what's happening tomorrow. You saw yesterday, if you were here on the show, you saw yesterday that Pete Hegseth and some of the CENTCOM generals and leaders from across the entire Western Hemisphere met in Miami to talk about this Avengers thing that they're putting together. And so while we're waiting here, let me see. They're still seating people. Marco Rubio has just showed up. Mike Johnson has now showed up. Let me just show you this real quick while I have time. This is what's happening tomorrow down here. This event. It says Trump to meet. You're not going to miss anything. I just want to show you this. Trump to meet Latin American leaders at Security Summit in Doral. That's basically Miami. That's his golf club. The White House said the goal of the summit is to promote freedom, security, and prosperity. Prosperity in the region. Right? So as you go down here, it says President Trump will welcome leaders from Latin American countries during the Shield of the Americas Summit, a security meeting set to be held in the city of Doral, the White House confirmed. The goal, okay, listen, the goal of the summit is to promote freedom, security, and prosperity in our region. That was from Caroline Leavitt. She added that the countries have really formed a coalition to work together to address criminal narco-terrorist gangs and cartels and counter illegal and mass migration into not only the United States, but the entire Western Hemisphere, which remains a key and top priority of the president. For now, Leavitt said the president will host, and this is important as well. Let me just move here. The president will host heads of state from Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, El Salvador, Honduras, Panama, Paraguay, Trinidad, and Tobago, and maybe some others as well. And guess who's going to be at that meeting? I would bet you Kristi Noem will be there, because now she is the special envoy. She is the special envoy to that entire conglomeration. And so earlier when I posted, I said, you know, it's kind of funny. You're getting fired from having to deal with Nimrods here in Minnesota and stuff. But now you're going to go, after you get fired, you're going to go work with an agency that nobody knows about. Nobody's talking about. They'll be talking about it tomorrow because he will be there. And when he's there tomorrow, he will definitely be showing people. And I hope they televise it. I hope they do what they did with Pete Hegseth, so I can show it to you. And then it's huge. It's absolutely huge, and nobody saw this coming. In fact, there's not even anything on the WhiteHouse.gov website about it. That's how covert it has been. They've obviously been planning it for some time, but they haven't told anybody. So I think that's going to be pretty interesting. What's here? Let me go down here. Let me show you this before he comes out. It says, although media outlets and invited leaders had previously mentioned the event, the Trump administration had not publicly provided any details about the summit until now. Paraguayan President Santiago Pena was among the leaders who shared the official invitation on his Instagram account. And here's the actual invitation that was sent out, and with the RSVP and all this stuff. So this went out some time ago, and nobody in the media knew it was even happening. And it just happened to coincide on the day that Kristi Noem got fired. Yeah, okay. Let's continue with this. It says Paraguay will be present at this important meeting, which will strengthen cooperation and joint efforts, support of the security and stability of our nations. As a lead up to the summit, and look at, he wrote that February 19th. As a lead up to the summit, the city of Doral announced that the security and everything else. So that's what we're going to be seeing tomorrow. And I'm going to talk to you about that as soon as this event is over, because I'm pretty sure what we're going to see and what is going to happen is that. I want to know if Marco Rubio is going to Cuba tomorrow. I don't know, if they're going to announce it or anything, but they're all meeting with defense contractors. And then after this event, not sure if he's flying directly down here. On his calendar, it had him coming to Palm Beach, which every time he comes to Palm Beach, stuff happens. Something happens when he gets down here. So all this is happening, and nobody in the media is even talking about it. They're talking about what's an unconditional surrender mean. Well, you're about to find out. You're about to find out what Cuba offers up here. All right, so let me put the picture back up so you guys can see you haven't missed anything. Let me cut the sound. And so on your right there, or the right, you see Susie Wiles. She is sitting next to Nick Saban. And on the left, you've got Mike Johnson, and I forget that guy's name sitting next to him, but he's a bigwig, I think, in the NCAA. And then on the other side of him is Ron DeSantis, which I thought was interesting that Ron DeSantis was coming to this event. He's the governor of Florida. What exactly is Ron DeSantis' role in all this? We shall soon find out. So this is a big event. Tiger Woods. I'm not sure if Dana White's there. Big names in sports coming up. So let me go ahead and put the comments up so I can see some of your comments while we're waiting. Okay, let's look at this. He's 17 minutes late, but he shall be coming. What do we got for comments here? Right, best firing ever. Talking about Kristi Noem. Man, I'd love to get fired like that. Here, I want you to go interact with all the presidents of all these Latin nations, and you're going to be you're going to be handling all the correspondence. Good for her. What else you guys are saying? I don't want to get into anything because he's going to walk. Okay, that's who it was. Yep. Somebody just posted, it is Randy Levine from the Yankees. So the guy sitting between Ron DeSantis and Mike Johnson is I don't think he's the owner. He might be the president. I'm not sure if the Steinbrenner family is still in there, but that's who he is. It would be super cool if DeSantis started working with the Trump admin since he can't be governor. That could be. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I could see that happening. I could definitely see that happening. That he goes up there. Let's see. Nick doesn't believe in people being late. Ask his players. It's kind of different when you're waiting on the president. I think that might be the one person that you would give the okay to be a little bit late because you don't know what he's doing. I know I like JD. Oh, I've seen people stand. Okay, so if they're standing, that must mean the music is playing. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. All right, I'm out.
Thank you very much, everybody. Please. This is a very important meeting. We had a lot of important meetings today, but this is a big one because this is really the future of.
Let me know how the sound is.
This is the future of colleges because we're looking at numbers that are coming in and the amount of money being spent and lost by otherwise very successful schools is astounding just in a short period of time. It's only going to get worse. So we have to save college sports and save, I believe, colleges. We have to save our Olympic team because so many sports that are in the Olympics will no longer be represented by people that went through college and became competitive, became great at the sport. We won't be anywhere near what we were. I think it's just a very, very important meeting. We have the most important people in college sports and really beyond. And what I'd like to do is I'll say a few words. I'm going to ask Marco and a few to also say a few words. And I'd like to take your suggestions. And we have the speaker. We have John Thune is here or represented. We have some of the big politicians, senators, Congress people that can make it get approved. Yeah, because we have to go through, I guess we have to go through, I'd do an executive order. I'd love to do that. I'll probably do it anyway. We'll do an executive order. We'll see how it works because it would be a really nice, I have a really nice, simple idea. But we'll go through this process and maybe I think we'll get it through Congress. We have a good chance. I think it'll be very bipartisan. And I just want to thank you all for being here as we stand up for one of America's greatest and most beloved institutions. It's called college athletics, which is true, means so much. I want to thank Secretaries Marco Rubio, Scott Bessent, Doug Burgum, Howard Lutnick, Linda McMahon for being here, and also Speaker of the House Mike Johnson doing a great job, Governor Ron DeSantis, Senators Ted Cruz, Eric Schmidt, Leader Steve Scalise, Representatives Lisa McClain, Jim Jordan, Brett Guthrie, and Lori Trahan. Thank you all for being here. We have some great people. Condoleezza, thank you very much. I see you over there. Great to have you. Great to be with you. A very special welcome to New York Yankees President Randy Levine, friend of mine for a long time. I used to sit with George Steinbrenner in the box. It was one of the most difficult days of my life. I would always be, like he liked me, I liked him, but we both liked very few other people. And we had a good time. We won a lot of games, right, Randy?
We never lost.
We never lost, actually. And a great champion of college athletics, former, as I just said, Secretary of State, a woman who's really respected, Condoleezza Rice. Thank you very much again, Condoleezza. And Ron DeSantis has been working very hard with us, and wherever you may be, Ron, hi, Ron, and has some great ideas and some great coaches that gave him some great ideas. We're gathered today to discuss an important threat to the integrity and culture of college sports, the inability to set rules on eligibility, transfers, name, image, and likeness, and more, much more than that, in the face of endless lawsuits. And it's what's going on with the legal community is incredible. We had a lawsuit a couple of years ago by a radical left judge from California who decided, knowing nothing about football or college sports, that everything was illegal that was taking place. And I don't think it was ever appealed. Nobody can find out if it was appealed or not. But you can win an appeal. I think I win more cases on appeal than I do in front of some judges that are not very good. But it was a horrible, incredible ruling. And it threw the sports world and the college athletic world into tithers. And that's where we are right now. It's crazy things are happening. Young people are being signed, 17-year-old quarterbacks, for $12 million, $13 million, $14 million. We have a 7-year freshman You know, we have people, we're seeing things that we've never seen before. We have college players that don't want to go to the NFL because they're making more money in college, right, Jim Jordan? And a lot of really bad things are happening. But basic questions like who is eligible to play are now virtually unregulated and decided randomly by judges rather than by reasonable, agreed-upon rules that could be very simple and very simply drawn. So this has grown into a major challenge. We actually have some of the best sports agents here because I think they'd like to see it solved, but maybe not. I'm not 100% sure about that. But they're represented. We have everybody represented today, just about every group you can think of. But it's grown into a major challenge that threatens the future of college sports and really colleges themselves, because many are going to go down the tubes. It was announced that Penn State, their athletic division, lost $535 million this last year. Florida State, Ron and I spoke about it, $440 million loss. It was just announced that Rutgers lost $95 million, and they're doing all sorts of things to try and save the ship. And I think those numbers are nothing compared to what's going to happen. This is new. This just happened. Those numbers are going to go to levels that nobody's ever seen before. If you had no salary cap in the NFL, you'd see staggering losses. We have no salary cap in colleges. Colleges are going to have, unless something's done, unless we solve this problem, and I think probably today, and we're going to ask for ideas that, you know, not that we don't have to take months. We'd like to see if we could do it for next season. But we have, and we certainly have the brain power. We have tremendous knowledge, far more knowledge than I have about this subject. But it also poses special dangers for women's sports and our Olympic pipeline. Women's sports are being canceled all over the country, just so we understand. Women's sports are in deep trouble, other than one particular women's team. That's Miami, where I have my granddaughter on the team. They canceled men's golf, but women's golf is doing just fine. I'm only kidding. But they are canceling golf, they're canceling wrestling, they're canceling fencing, they're canceling even basketball. I thought that would be maybe immune, but it's in trouble. And it's all going to football, but ultimately football is going to be the worst laggard of all. It's not going to be affordable, and it's going to take down practically every college. In my opinion, it's going to take down virtually every college, or every college that wants to be, they think they want to be competitive. Under the current system, educational institutions find themselves in a financial arms race for athletes in sports like football and basketball, and both of them, but basketball is being hurt very badly. It's being dominated by football. Last July, I signed an executive order to stop destructive pay-for-play schemes that are all over the place and keep college athletics rooted in the traditions that made it great. I thought we had a great system, frankly. I thought we had a system that should have been appealed, and it could have been maybe perfected a little bit, but it took close to 100 years. It was developed over 100 years, and one judge that knew nothing about sports, knew nothing about football, knew nothing about Olympics, knew nothing about anything, just decided everything was unconstitutional. It's crazy. But only Congress now, it looks like, can deliver a permanent fix. So, Speaker, you and John and everybody else, including Democrats that are represented very strongly, we can hopefully get it done. Federal legislation must allow college athletic programs to set common sense rules, simple common sense rules, without endless litigation, and establish a fair name, image, and likeness standard that eliminates the patchwork of conflicting state laws. That's the other problem. All of these colleges, they're all in different states, and all the laws are different. So you got laws that are totally different, some one way, some an entirely different way, while allowing the full spectrum of college athletic programs to thrive. It should thrive. If Congress does not take action fast, it could destroy college sports and destroy the colleges that play these sports. They'll be destroyed. They'll be going bankrupt. Everyone, so many of them. No other nation in the world has built a system that develops champions in classrooms and on the field, producing Olympic heroes, professional legends, and the leaders of tomorrow all at once. I thought the system of scholarships was great. What do I know? But I thought it was great. And just one of those things. I was with Nick Saban the other day, and, you know, his timing is exquisite. He played and he won and won and won. And when he saw this thing, he said, I'm going to get out of, I'm not doing this anymore. He's around here someplace. Where's Nick? Where are you, Nick? Right? Now, he doesn't admit this. I said, how come you left just, he didn't want to go through one season? Because there's no better mind at this than that man. And he looked and he said, what a shame, what a shame. And he's going to speak about it. And I think you have some very constructive ideas, Nick. I think so. No other nation in the world has built a system like this. It's so good, and we've thrown it right out the window. And I'd like to see you go back to something maybe resembling that, and maybe pay for each player. Not such crazy pay, but just pay for each player. With every player, maybe the quarterback and the third string lineman making the same. But you're going to tell us about it. We're going to try and get it passed. Our goal is not to go back to the days where student athletes were never allowed to receive any compensation, although not the worst idea, but I think a lot of people would overrule me on that. But we must pass reforms that protect the cherished American tradition of college athletics for future generations. So I look forward to hearing from a lot of you, and I think a few of you are going to say a few words, and then we'll get to some ideas. And I don't know, maybe by the end of a long session, if we need it, I'm here as long as you need me. They came to me, they said, you're the only one that can do it. I said, oh, thank you very much. I said, really, because I'm president, okay, to be honest. But we have certain abilities, and we'll see if we can get it done. So I'll ask in this order, Marco, you'll say a few words, and then Speaker Johnson, Randy Levine, Nick Saban, Charlie Baker, the Governor Ron DeSantis, and Greg Sankey, Sarah Hirschland, and Pete Bavacqua. And they'll go pretty quickly, and then we'll hear from some of the people. And we may have something come up that's somewhat of a miracle. There's an idea out there, and somehow it's going to have to be arrived at, because there's no way this system will allow colleges to, in my opinion, will allow schools to live financially. It's not going to happen. So if I could, I'll ask Marco, you can start, and then Speaker, and then we'll go through the list, and then we'll take some ideas or questions, all right? Thank you very much. Marco?
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'll be very brief. The first is, I think you've already touched on, and that is what a unique institution college athletics is to the United States. Very few countries in the world actually have something like what we have. And it's not just unique, it's really important. A lot of people don't see some of the aspects of it that are so positive. The first is the student-athlete experience. There are literally thousands and thousands of young Americans who are going to graduate this year with not just degrees, but advanced degrees, and athletics made that possible. And the athletic support and the academic support that they're receiving from these schools is extraordinary. So there are kids that literally would not have gone to college or may not have considered it, and certainly not the advanced degrees, without the help that this provides. Also, the development of the individual that student athletics provides. I mean, look, if you can show up at 6 a.m. in the morning every day for a lift, you're learning one of the most important lessons in life. 95% of life is showing up where you're supposed to be on time. These are extraordinary lessons that people are gaining. Two more things that people don't think about: unity. Few things in America unify us anymore, and one of the things that does is college athletics. In particular, I can just, the experience of a Saturday, and I was about to say a Saturday in the South, but I don't want to discriminate against the other conferences. I'm sure it's true there too, where communities get together and people don't agree on anything else except that they want that home team on the field to win. And it's one of the few unifying experiences we have as a country, and it's so critical. And the last you touched on as well, Mr. President, this is the feeder program for our Olympic teams. Without it, there is no feeder program. Other countries have structured it differently, but the way we have it in our country is so unique in that way. We all know the challenges, and what this system now needs is a system of rules and regulations, of guardrails, so that everyone is operating under the same rules. And it's difficult to do because it's moving very fast, but you've got the right people in the room here, Mr. President, and the right leadership. So thank you for caring about this, because it truly is important for the country and for millions of Americans who are fans and thousands of families who have student athletes in their family who have experienced the system or are going through it now. So thank you.
And Marco has a conflict of interest that he didn't reveal, which is a very serious charge. Could be a criminal charge, actually, because his son is a very good player for a very good college and makes money with NIL. So this is a serious conflict of interest. But we'll take him. We waive his conflict. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here with so many of the all-time greats. It's a treat for us, members of Congress. There's many of them around the table, and they're happy to be working on the issue with you and for you. I would say, people often say that Speaker of the House is the most stressful job in the world, but then I think of SEC football coaches because they got to win every Saturday night, and my friends who are in those positions, I have a lot of sympathy for. I want to commend President Trump for his extraordinary leadership, and he leads on this important and complex issue as he does all others. He sees a problem, he wants us to solve it, and he assembles the right people to get that done, and I think he really is the only figure on the planet who could do that. So I thank you for that, Mr. President, getting everybody together. One more issue that we'll tackle. I'm a double alum from LSU, undergrad and law school, so I bleed purple and gold, and we talk a lot about college athletics down where I'm from. It's a big thing, but the whole country cares deeply about it because it's part of Americana, as Marco was saying. It's part of who we are as a country, and it's so important, and we have to navigate through these unprecedented waters together. I'm glad there's some really smart people who are working on that. Mr. President, Congress does need to act quickly because it's getting out of hand, and I think everybody here recognizes that. I want you to know the House has been working very deliberately and I think very effectively on this. We've done a lot of good work, and many of you are familiar with the SCORE Act. We passed a important procedural hurdle in December. We're right on the verge of passage in the House, and we now think we have the votes to do that. But that's why this meeting is so timely, because we want to have the conversation today and in the days that follow, because we want to make sure that we get it right. It's a bipartisan product. It has broad support in the House. We believe we'll have every Republican now, and we have a double-digit support of at least Democrats. It is bipartisan. A lot of good work's gone into that to get it there, and we think it may be the vehicle to get us to the next phase of this and this essential conversation. But the next step is preparing that legislation for final passage. So I was talking with Randy and many of you who are leading on this. This is a very important and timely conversation that we'll have today, and I said in the days that follow. We're encouraged to see all of you, the experts who know this issue better than anybody in the country, willing to put your time and effort into it and provide feedback, because we want the final product to be the best it can be. We want to accomplish the necessary ends, and we think we're very close. Everybody here wants to see this American institution succeed, and we have that opportunity within our grasp. And we want to make sure that the solution we develop actually works for student athletes who are at the heart of this, and that's who we care about so much. And we know that the foundation of any good deal begins with getting the right people in the right room, and this is the right room, and this is historic, and no one knows better than the man who literally wrote the book on it, and that's President Trump. And so I want to thank you for assembling us, Mr. President, and we look forward to the discussion. I yield back.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President, for putting this group together. Leading up to this, wherever I would go, because I had an interest in this, both professionally what the Yankees have done and my experience on board of directors of various colleges, everybody would say over and over again, this thing is failing bad, and it's like a hamster on a wheel. It kept spinning on the wheel, but never getting off. It was never done. And they told me, please talk to the president, because he's the only person who will convene a group like this in order to reach a consensus to get it done. And he agreed to do it. But he said to me, if I'm going to do it, it has to be bipartisan. And he asked me and the speaker and everybody else to make sure it is bipartisan. And it is. We have people from both parties here, and that's what has to happen. So we put this group together. Why did we put this group together? Because it's representative of the people who know the best on how to solve this issue. We have college presidents who've been living with this from all over the country. We have some of the finest athletic directors who have been pioneers in this area. We have professional sports executives. Why do we have them in the room? The answer is, as Commissioner Silva would tell you, or Hall of Famer Lou Lamoriello, these issues have been in professional sports for a long time. We have a lot of experience. I negotiated the first revenue sharing agreement in baseball. Caps, revenue sharing, distribution, all of those things are what we live with every single day. So maybe we can share our experience and transport it here as long as it's in the context of college sports. There's one group that is missing, but they won't be missing from the final product, and that's the student athletes themselves. This group, as we move on, you can be assured we'll be talking to the student athletes and all their representatives to make sure their voices is clearly heard. You know, time is of the essence. People have told me they've been to Congress 15, 16, 17 times. One group goes in, the other group goes in, and nothing seems to get done. Time is of the essence. Besides the numbers the president talked about, I heard a story from one of the great professional athletes on the Yankees, one of our great players yesterday. And he went to a great university, and he said to me, "Thank you for doing this, because every day I got asked for more money for NILs, every single day." And what happened is I gave money for an NIL for a quarterback who left the next year. Meanwhile, a friend of mine, daughter is on the rowing team, and she lost her scholarship, and she's an Olympic hopeful, and now she has to pay her own way. That's just not right. It's really not right, and it has to be fixed. So, Mr. President, thank you for bringing this group together. I think they're really, just for discussion, we'll hear from everybody. I think there are really two things to add on to what the speaker said that have to be done. One, there has to be an antitrust exemption, because everyone in the room has to be able to talk to each other, all the conferences, the schools, the presidents, everybody, without getting sued. That includes the kids. They have to be involved in these negotiations, the student athletes. And there has to be an entity that's set up by the people who are going to administer this, run this, that are empowered by the legislation to handle all the issues the president spoke about. And we're all here to support that, to help that. And to make sure that it's just not business as usual. Just an idea I have is maybe that an antitrust exemption lasts for 2 years to make sure that these rules and everything are really being enforced. And if they're not, we go back to square one. It'll give the Congress oversight, give the president oversight, but it's time to move. And Mr. President, I couldn't agree with you more. Thanks to your leadership, we got to move this really, really fast. We have ESPN and Fox here. They're probably the biggest payers in this entire thing, and the fact that they're here and their voice is heard is great. So, Mr. President, only you could pull this off, and we're grateful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Randy. And Nick Saban, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the chance and the opportunity to be here to speak with you today, but I just want everybody to know that I'm just a football coach. I spent my life when we had the ball trying to get a first down, when they had the ball trying to get off the field on third down. So this is an unlikely position for me to be in to speak to such a distinguished group of people. Thank you. But I come here today with a question. What are the guiding principles for the future of college athletics? All athletics. I'm talking about football, basketball, Olympic sports, revenue, non-revenue, it doesn't matter. You know, my goal as a coach for my players, for our players, was to help them be more successful in life, that we would create an atmosphere and environment that would help them through personal development, academic support, 668 degrees in 17 years at Alabama, and help them develop a career as a football player. That was our goal, so that they were creating value in life and we were preparing them for their future past athletics. So what happened? You know, in this current system that we have, that became impossible to do because people, instead of making decisions about creating value for their future, they were making decisions about how much money could they make at whichever school they could go to or transfer to. So I think we have a challenge here today about the ramifications of this current system on how it helps players be successful in their future, and how we can impact and create a system that will help and preserve the opportunity for student athletes to be able to have success in their future beyond athletics. So we need to develop an effective system of revenue sharing, authentic name, image, and likeness, authentic being you have marketing value, which now we have collectives, which just create opportunities, which just become pay for play. Eligibility issues where we have guys playing 6, 7, and 8 years. So you have 25 and 26-year-old people playing against 18 and 19-year-olds, which is not healthy. Transfer rules, we have over 4,000 people in the portal. Fans don't like it, support groups don't like it. It's not really healthy for players in graduation to transfer several times in your career. You really put yourself in a pickle in terms of your ability to graduate. So I think we need to come up with a system, and we obviously have to do it with the president's leadership and also with Congress probably, whether it's antitrust legislation or whatever it is, to allow student athletes in all sports, including women's and Olympic sports, to enhance their quality of life while going to college, but still provide opportunity to advance themselves beyond their athletic career, which is what the philosophy of college athletics and getting a college education has always been about. And how much does anybody talk about getting an education anymore? Nobody talks about it at all, which is the most important thing any of these student athletes can do in terms of enhancing their future. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nick. Charlie Baker.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. I especially want to thank you for putting me in the lineup after the most legendary college football coach of all time. And I really want to thank you for your interest in this issue and your commitment to it. And I also want to thank you for the work that your administration has done in a number of different issues, working with our team and with many members of the folks who are in this room today. You know, today there are more kids playing college sports than at any time in our nation's history. There's 556,000 student athletes across all 3 divisions playing on behalf of 1,100 schools. And those 1,100 schools are second only to the United States of America in terms of the amount of financial assistance they make available to those student athletes. It's over $4 billion. That's also the biggest number we've ever invested as a community in the student athletes who attend our schools. There is a lot that is right with college sports, and anybody who watched the Women's Olympic Championship game between Canada and the United States would know that, among other things, all of the players on both of those teams were former college student athletes. All 46 of them from both teams that played in that championship final. Women's sports has grown dramatically. The visibility of women's sports, the viewership of women's sports, the attendance at women's sports, the investments in women's sports have all gone dramatically up over the course of the past 10 years or so. And if you talk to almost anybody who follows youth sports, they'll tell you that the growth in youth sports on the women's side continues to be profound. But that said, everything everybody has said about the challenges we face at this particular point in time is true. And I want to give a special thanks to Speaker Johnson and to Leader Scalise for the work that they've done, you know, to use a sports analogy, carrying the ball on behalf of the SCORE Act in the House chamber over the course of this year. It deals with the rules issue, it deals with the agents issue, it deals with some of the financial issues, it deals with the equity question, it deals with a wide variety of the issues that are challenging for so many in the college sports space these days. And the final thing I'll just say, we have, I talk to a lot of people who are connected in one way or another to college sports, both in this country and around the world, because they have children who attend college here in the U.S. And over and over and over again, the thing I constantly hear is there's nothing like college sports anywhere else in the world. And you are so lucky to live in a country where you have a system that works for young people the way this one works for young people here. So I'm deeply grateful for your commitment to this issue. I'm thrilled by the folks you've managed to put around this table. I agree with others who said there's probably nobody else who could do that. And college sports was a great thing for me and my kids and my wife and so many. I know a lot of kids who wouldn't have graduated from high school, much less gone to and graduated from college if it wasn't for college sports. It's a truly unique American jewel, and we should do all we possibly can to ensure its success for the next generation and the generations after that. So thank you again for having us all here today.
Thank you, Charlie, and you're doing a great job. Appreciate it. Ron, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, for doing this. I mean, you have pedaled to the metal on so many different issues, from national security to border to energy, and you're not taking the pedal off any of that, and you could be forgiven to say college sports is important, but your plate's full, and you just added it to all the other things that you're doing, and I thank you for that, because this would not get done without your leadership. No one else could get this group together. No one else could work with Congress to be able to do it. And so I appreciate it, because it is important to a lot of people. I mean, we know this is out of whack. We went from a system where you couldn't give a student athlete anything. They could sell your jersey, you get nothing, to now, quarterback throws for 300 yards and they go see the coach. Hey, I need more money. Give me more money from the club. Okay, I'll transfer. Or they get money and I don't want to play in that bowl game. Sorry, I'm just going to sit out. And I think that that's been bad, certainly for college football and college sports. But let's just be clear, and a lot of the speakers have said, and I speak from being in the South, college football is king. It's not even close. University of Florida is the reigning NCAA basketball national champion. The football team, I think they won 4 games. So guess what? Are the fans happy being the NCAA? Not really. They're mad because football didn't do good. And football has been able to generate so much money over the years that it's subsidized a lot of the other programs, a lot of these non-revenue sports. People have had more and more opportunities. Well, now, with the collectives and how much it's costing football, the costs are going up dramatically, and it is threatening these other sports. And, you know, look, yes, being able to produce Olympians, being able to do that, I think it's really important. But 99% of Division I athletes are not going to make a living at it, and they're not going to play in the Olympics. And I speak as somebody, you know, I was the baseball captain at Yale. Like, if we had NIL there, I probably wasn't going to get a lucrative NIL deal. That's fine. I get it. But, you know, what being a college athlete teaches you, there's a reason why the Naval Academy and in West Point, you have to be an athlete when you go through there, because it teaches you discipline. It teaches you about hard work. It teaches you about competitiveness. It teaches you how to cope with failure. And so a lot of the people, the students in these sports that may not be as glitzy, but are going to be harmed by the current trajectory, these are going to be future leaders of our country in a variety of different endeavors. And so I'm thankful that this is going to get done under President Trump's leadership. This is a bipartisan issue. You know, we are so division on all this different stuff. There is no partisanship about this. We all want our universities and the athletics to succeed. A lot of the speakers have talked about the issues of eligibility. I mean, how do you have there till you're like 25, 18 to 25, and you're still playing? How do you play in the NBA G League and then come back and play in college? How do you get to transfer all these different things? We know those need to be addressed. And obviously the compensation with NIL, I signed one of the first NIL bills, but that was like, if they're making money off you, you get. Now they're doing like perpetual negotiations, even more than pro athletes can do. So I'm confident this is the group to do it. This is the president to do it. And there's going to be a lot of people in our country that are going to be happy when this problem is fixed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ron, very much. Very much. Greg?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for convening this group. And I also think it's important to point out you've been to Tuscaloosa a few times for great football games, a couple national championships, and I think the power of your presence around college sports is an important factor in this conversation. I had a knock on the door of my residence hall in 1983 by my baseball coach. I was a bad catcher at Laterno College. That's why I'm here today, because he taught me some lessons that had I not been in that situation, I never would have learned. I've spent 2 of the last 3 weeks with our student athlete leadership councils, and I asked them, what would you say in a room like this that people need to hear, and that there were two things that they wanted me to communicate. One is, when I line up at kickoff, at tip-off, or I put my cleats in the starting blocks at a track and field meet, I want to know the other people in other uniforms from other teams and other states and other campuses are held to the same standards and the same rules to which I am being held. They also want to know that they're being supported from a physical and a mental well-being standpoint. Part of that is their concerns about sports gambling and the pressures that are emerging upon them. I think the themes that have been communicated here, rather than go through my notes, are worth restating. This is a bipartisan, I would argue a nonpartisan issue. This is a circumstance where among the four conferences, the ACC, Big 12, Big 10, and SEC, over $2.3 billion was spent in FY24 to support Olympic sports. And in Paris, 219 U.S. medalists went through the college sports system, 89 of those being gold medalists. In college sports, we move young people from adolescence to adulthood through education, through becoming part of a community, which they otherwise would have not experienced, and the opportunity to build a legacy. In the current environment, each of those elements is interrupted. Transferring 4 or 5, I have a basketball player in my league on its 6th campus, does not provide educational achievement opportunities like we should demand. Being part of a community when you transfer that much doesn't happen, and building a legacy is overrun by the next name, image, and likeness opportunity. I appreciate what's been done in the House and the SCORE Act. Speaker Johnson, I once lived in Natchitoches, Louisiana, a place you represent. Leader Scalise, your work, I know Congressman Roy has been part of those conversations and others in this room, and it is bipartisan, but we need to bring more people in. And we have work to accomplish in the Senate. We cannot go on longer in this circumstance. And this is not about revenue. This is about structures and national standards for eligibility, for transfers, for medical care and mental wellness care, for transparency and accountability around name, image, and likeness activity. We'll fracture more if we fail to act. That's why the appreciation, Mr. President, for the gathering is most sincere, because I want to see our women's sports thrive. In the Southeastern Conference, we currently have 10 national championships. 2/3 of those are in women's sports. We didn't achieve that mountaintop in football this year. We'll keep working on that. We want our Olympians to go through our pools and our track and fields and our volleyball courts. And we want young men who aspire to be in the NBA or the NFL to be educated, to mature, and to grow as they seek that achievement. We ought to be focused on making college sports great yet again, and I look forward to being a part of this conversation moving forward.
Thank you, Greg, very much. Sarah Hirschland, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me start by saying thank you, President Trump and your whole administration, for your continued support of both Team USA and the Olympic and Paralympic Games. I'm proud to be here today to represent Team USA, and I will say it is no surprise to anyone in this room that we are the greatest sporting nation in the world. Team USA is the most successful team in history, with more Olympic medals than any other nation. One of our competitive advantages is the education-based sports system our country has embraced for more than a century. America's colleges and universities built a world-class athletic system that develops the whole athlete, academically and competitively. This system is the envy of the world, as we heard Charlie say. It has also been the backbone of Team USA for generations. The results speak for themselves. You heard Greg reference some, and I'll just expand. The athletes from just the Paris Games represented 231 different college institutions and 71 conferences. 90 different schools were represented by our medalists from just the Paris Games alone. This success does not happen by accident. It is directly impacted by the broad-based, sustained investment in sport on campus. You've heard that referenced. This is not something we can take for granted. To say that our country should be grateful to colleges and universities and their athletic programs is an understatement. And while the United States has topped the gold medal table in 8 of the last 10 summer games, I am here to tell you the margin is narrowing. Around the world, nations are investing aggressively in sport, building centralized training systems, expanding funding, and prioritizing athlete development in new ways. That growing global competition comes at a moment when U.S. colleges must increase their investments in football to stay competitive. The economic pressures are unsustainable. We've heard this several times, and we know that Olympic sport budgets inevitably rise to the top as the first to be cut. And in some cases, women's sport, but it's also men's sport, may be eliminated. We must keep our eye on both. We know what happens when those investments are reduced or disappear. It hinders the future pipeline of Team USA, but frankly, it threatens the future health of sport in our country. We cannot wait for the economic pressure to create this crisis. We stand here today, Team USA, in solidarity and partnership with the collegiate sports community to encourage Congress to pass legislation that stabilizes the foundation of sport on campus and ensures a healthy and robust ecosystem for student athletes across a wide array of Olympic sports and football, which is kind of coming to the Olympics. Let me conclude by assuring you that American athletes are ready for this global challenge. In fact, we welcome it. But the pursuit of excellence deserves a system that continues to invest in them. Thank you, Mr. President, and to our congressional leaders, to the college administrators, and to the many representatives across the sports industry who are here today. We value your commitment to sport, and we welcome your partnership. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Sarah. And we'll conclude with our little early speeches, but we'll hear everybody that wants to. If you have an idea, if you don't have any ideas, maybe you don't bother, okay? But if you have something good, and maybe what we're talking about with the SCORE Act, it seems to have a lot of support, but we'll talk about that. Pete Bavacqua, please.
Hey, Mr. President, thank you. Thanks for having us all here, and a special thanks on behalf of Notre Dame for your kind words about Coach Holtz. I know he was a dear friend of yours, so we appreciate that. And this meeting is important. It's timely. I think everybody around this table knows that we need help to straighten this out. We need the help of Congress. In this post-House world of NIL and compensation, we're finding ourselves in a situation where college football, particularly men's basketball, women's basketball, but particularly college football, I don't think it's any secret that people understand that so many of the decisions around college sports are driven almost solely by college football. And college football is certainly important to Notre Dame. We make no secret about that. But it's become a runaway financial train. And if it continues to be that way, even the healthiest of universities are going to have to make incredibly difficult decisions that are going to impact women's sports and Olympic sports. There's simply no way around that. So we need regulations. We need regulations, we need financial transparency, and we need repercussions. People's feet need to be held to the fire. And I talked to Coach Saban before we entered into this room, and we were talking about the transfer portal. And Greg mentioned it as well, but when you have young men and women going to 3 schools in 3 years, 4 schools in 4 years, the student athlete, and they're student athletes, they're not just athletes, and we're forgetting the academic part, we're forgetting the student part. And if you're going to 4 schools in 4 years to make a few more $100,000 on each stop, where when you're 21, 20 years old, you think all your financial troubles have gone away, you're going to find at the end of that college experience, you're not going to have an academic degree. That money that you thought you could rely on for the rest of your life is going to be absent by the time you're 23 or 24, and you're going to have the rest of your life, you're going to find yourself in a very difficult position. So we have to talk about financial transparency, and we have to restate the importance of the student-athlete experience. We can't forget that, because the percentage of people that can go on and play in the NBA, the WNBA, the NFL is extremely low. And it's the importance of that academic degree that you get throughout your student-athlete experience that's going to serve you so well for the rest of your life. And quite frankly, I think if we can agree on regulations with real repercussions, and we go down the road of a free market enterprise where college football continues to be a runaway train financially, I think there's got to be a commitment that if you're going to spend X on college football and Y on men's basketball and Z on women's basketball, you should be required to pay some sort of percentage of that to reinvest into your own Olympic movement within your universities. So I think this meeting, as I said, is important. I think we're coming to a point where we're going to be at no return if we don't get our act together and try to speak with one voice and solve this. So thanks again, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Pete. So maybe we have to start with a base because I'd like to say the base should be what we had before, which worked so well for so many years with scholarships. When I heard Charlie say the kind of numbers that was paid in the form mostly of scholarships, that was pretty impressive. But maybe we can't go back. Maybe we have to go forward. And what's happened is sitting here with Jim and some of the people that are talking about the SCORE Act, maybe that should be the base, and maybe we should work off that. But if anybody has any ideas, I'm just noticing all of the divisions, all of the people that have supported it, including the NCAA, the 31 Division I conferences, 23 Division II, 22 Division III, all HBCU conferences. I mean, a lot of, and a lot more than that. So maybe that can be a base. That's the SCORE Act, which I know it's been, Mike has worked on it long and hard. We have a great guy, Jim Jordan, right here. He was a great athlete. He was virtually undefeated in college wrestling, virtually. I don't know. There was probably one bad night, I think, Jim, right? But he was some great athlete, some great wrestler, and that sport is being, torn apart by what's happening right here.
Well, it sure helped when you came last year, Mr. President. Sure helped when you were at the NCAA championship last year.
Right. If we could go and if somebody would have some suggestions. Mike, do you like the idea of using this as a base and we work off the base, or would you like to start from ground zero?
Well, I think I speak on behalf of the legislators around the table that worked really hard on the SCORE Act and many who have been involved and brought their ideas to the table. Our fear is that if we begin from scratch, I think everyone around the table understands this could take a long, long time. A lot of the debate and discussion and deliberation has gone into this. I got this one-page summary I'm happy to pass around. I assume most people around the table know the basic parameters of the bill and where we are. But the idea would be that if there are, Randy and I were speaking earlier before we went into the Oval Office, there may be some ideas to enhance it or make it better. We want to have the best possible product. I mean, maybe, Mr. President, I think that's a good suggestion. We begin from that. For lack of a better idea, if anyone has a better base that we should begin with, we're open to it. But I'm looking at some of my chairmen of the committees of jurisdiction, and everybody's worked really hard on this. And our majority leaders down at the end of the table, Steve Scalise, has kind of helped quarterback this, pun intended, to get it through the process. And if you have specific questions about specific points or parts of that legislation, we're happy to answer that. But maybe that's part of the discussion. Maybe we could, maybe the question is not a rhetorical one, but a question for all of you. Does anyone have any big concern about what is currently on the table in the SCORE Act or have ideas on how to improve it?
Would anybody oppose, I mean, most of you have studied the SCORE Act more so than I have. Would anybody feel strongly opposed to starting with the base of the SCORE Act, which has gone through a lot? You would oppose it? Go ahead.
Well, first, I'm Lori Trahan. I represent Massachusetts and appreciate being invited to this today. And I'm really happy to hear you talk about women's sports in particular. I played Division I volleyball at Georgetown. That's changed my life. And so really have spent a lot of time on college sports. And I think I'm the only Democratic legislator in the room. I'm not going to pretend to speak for all of them, but I do think we want to solve college sports as much as everyone here. I think one of the issues that we had with the SCORE Act, I look at this as we've got some revenue issues and governance issues. The SCORE Act in its codifying the House settlement really hurts women in Olympic sports. We've already seen a number of programs cut across the country. So I think we do need a revenue mechanism to save and protect. One, strengthening Title IX has to be part of the SCORE Act, as well as ensuring that we are funding those programs. I mean, look, I'm also a mom. I've got a college athlete, son who played lacrosse. I've got another daughter who hopes to. Sports is the lifeblood right now. People are they're playing sports at record levels at the youth league. If this is any time we should be expanding opportunities for sports, it's right now. And I think one thing that the SCORE Act represented was just a consolidation of what we have today, which is the SEC and the Big Ten. No offense, Greg and Tony, but all the money really is going to those two conferences right now, and we need to address the revenue issue. I know there's been some proposals as far as modernizing the Sports Broadcasting Act. That could be one. I'm open for discussion on that. And then certainly making sure that we have a strong federal standard for NIL. A patchwork of laws does not work. I couldn't imagine signing my letter of intent and having to study up on every single state law and who offers what. But making sure that we have athletes' voices mandated at the table. They're not here today, so I do feel a responsibility to represent those 560,000 athletes who are not here right now, but making sure that they've got recourse if their NIL rights are violated or not upheld. But let me just say again, I would love to work, and maybe the SCORE Act is the right vehicle, that we continue to tweak so that it has a path in the Senate as well. I know that there's a lack of consensus on many of the governance issues, but we'd like to solve that with everyone here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. You might want to respond to that.
Well, there's some good points made there for sure, and I think everybody has the same intention as we want to protect women's sports as well, and I got two daughters. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that. But with regard to the patchwork of state laws, as many of you probably know, the SCORE Act addresses it because it creates a national NIL standard, and then it allows the associations the authority to make rules on transfers and compensation caps and the things that are really burdening the system. And then it protects those rules from being challenged under antitrust laws. So we create an exemption there for that. So I think there are a lot of thoughts gone into how to address it there. But I mean, again, we have no pride of authorship here. We want to have the best possible product. So, I mean, the authors of the bill are open to good suggestions. So, yield back.
Anybody, please? Yes, Steve?
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate you bringing everybody together, because I think we're all here because we have a passion to protect college sports, and we've recognized that with this wild, wild west mentality, it's not healthy for the future of college athletics. And so bringing structure back and really bringing the ability for the schools to govern themselves again is what our intention was from the very beginning. We started this a few years ago. I remember Coach Saban came to my office and others, and we started listening to the people that are there at the schools dealing with the problem as payment of students became legal, which happened through legal arguments that, Mr. President, you talked about, some of these lawsuits that ultimately broke down the framework that Charlie Baker and others were able to use to police college athletics. That's gone now. And so how do we put that structure back? So we listened to the schools, we listened to the different conferences, all the different conferences. We talked to a lot of student athletes. We have a number of student athletes in Congress who played different sports, who are co-sponsors of the SCORE Act, and came to this from that same approach, saying, as somebody who played athletics or somebody who just has a passion. I lived in Tiger Stadium my second year at LSU. You know, in case you're wondering where my leanings are, but I care about the future of college athletics. And when you see a student athlete, as you talked about, Pete, on their sixth school and they're 28 years old, number one, they're not going to have any college credits to be able to graduate. And the idea of being able to get a degree for the 99% who aren't going to play professional sports is just going to be lost. And how can you reestablish that? So we started putting some things together. We have the antitrust protections in this bill. We protect women's sports in this bill. We established, Mr. President, that Title IX maintains so that however many men's sports you have to have an equal number of women's sports. Some schools have a lot of sports. Some schools can only afford a few, but whatever you have to have an equal number of women's sports, and that's protected in this bill. And obviously, the Olympic sports are protected as well. We also wanted to make sure you could put limits on the transfer portal, because that is something that a lot of people get very frustrated when they see that you just have pure free agency. The professional sports don't even have that. And so you limit with, and again, open to suggestions, but what everybody seemed to come to an agreement on was 5 total years of playing with 1 ability to transfer within that. And there's flexibility by the governing organization, so the NCAA can look at a case by case. If your father's on life support and you want to transfer to a different school to be close to your family, you can get an additional 1, but let the governing body be able to do that again. We put those in the bill, and then we give the financial literacy requirements so that student athletes have more protections that they currently don't have today. You might be getting that $300,000 or $2 million contract. You might not even know you have to pay taxes on that. And you might run into some real financial problems if you're a 17, 18-year-old kid. We make sure the schools educate the kids on financial literacy. So we put a lot of other things, including health protections, as Commissioner Sankey talked about. So we listen to students, we listen to schools, we listen to all the conferences, all the HBCUs support this bill, and we built a framework and we built a coalition. We're right now at a point where we've got more than a majority in Congress supporting this bill, including, as the Speaker said, double-digit number of Democrats who support this bill. So it's a bipartisan coalition. We absolutely will take more input, but only input that grows the coalition, not detracts from the ability for student athletes to get that structure that they and the schools need. That's what the SCORE Act does. We want to move on it soon, because I think we all recognize that we can't wait another year and have this wild, wild west continue, and it will take the Senate some time to start their own process. So I'm expecting we're going to be moving soon, in hopefully the next few weeks, on the SCORE Act in the House, and then keep this conversation going, keep growing this coalition to solve this problem, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. We have to move it quickly. Otherwise, you're going to have another season that's a disaster, and it's not affordable by colleges. Next to you, Steve, you had something to say? Thank you.
I did. Thank you, President Trump. My name is Jim Phillips. I'm the commissioner of the ACC. We welcome Kai this fall. I'll be your commissioner, so we'll look forward to seeing you out watching her play. I went on a college campus 30-some years ago and never left until I became commissioner. And I will tell you, we need your help. We need everybody's help in this room. There are 6 areas that the SCORE Act is the right piece of legislation. First, as been mentioned, there's a national law versus state legislation and patchwork. We have 37 disparate laws across the country, so what you can do in one state is different than what you can do in another state. That just doesn't work. When you have inter- and intrastate competition, as Greg mentioned so well, the student athletes want to know that they're lining up against somebody that's abiding by the same rules, NIL, rev share, and the rest. Second, it's a reaffirmation that these are student athletes. Not one of the commissioners in this room has had a student athlete come up to them and say, we would like to be an employee. They're smart enough to understand what that means. Third, limited liability protection. The lawsuits are killing us. They're absolutely crushing college sports. If you don't like a rule, you just go to the local judge, and the local judge deems you eligible. Fourth, degree completion. It's never been better to be a student athlete. You can come back to school and get a degree. You have a chance to be a pro and you leave early, we want you to come back. Fifth, medical care. The medical care is as good as I've ever seen in my 30 years, ever. And it's mental health as well as physical health and well-being. Finally, the codification of the House case. And I heard the mention of hurting women's sports. I will say in the ACC, similar to the SEC, Big 12 and Big 10, we have added 942 new scholarships because of the House case. 56% in the ACC of those scholarships have gone to women's sports. So the House case has not hurt women's sports. It has not. And the idea that we can sustain this is just not, has been expressed, is just not feasible. So we need your help. We thank you for taking your time and assembling this crew, and we look forward to working together.
So the concept of what we're doing with your great experience is a pretty good start. Yeah. If you could pass that around, would be great. This is a summary of the SCORE Act, which I think people should see. So you like the concept of what we're doing? Very good. Yeah, it sounds it.
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank you very much. Please.
Tim Pernetti, the Commissioner of the American Conference. Mr. President, thank you for putting this incredible meeting together, and more personally, thank you for your support of the Army-Navy game. Army-Navy are members of the American Conference.
That's right. Thank you.
Like a lot of people have said in this room, I had the same experience. College football changed my life. I couldn't afford college. I got a scholarship, and it changed everything. And I won't reiterate all the reasons why SCORE makes sense, because there's a lot about it that makes sense. But what we have to remind ourselves, and there's a lot of business people in the room, is we're not solving the economic crisis as part of it, because we are in a real economic crisis in college sports. Like, we have complex challenges. The mission is completely out of focus. This thing was about education through sport. That's what it was supposed to be, to what Coach Saban said. It still is that, so long as we put it back in focus. But we can get through SCORE, create more consistency, because the industry has a lack of consistency from eligibility all the way down the line. But we have to examine other ways to solve the economic crisis. And these things shouldn't impede each other. And I know it is a very hot-wired topic, but looking at the opportunity for the industry to bring together valuable commercial resources in the future, such as unifying their media rights, is something that should be examined. And we're not making that decision today. If the Sports Broadcasting Act can be amended to provide college football the antitrust protection that the pro leagues have to be able to unify their media rights, that gives the industry an option, which is the important word, in the future. And that's really what the industry will need. This is an expense problem, but there are revenue paths that we haven't ventured down yet. The reality of all this is going to take bold steps. It's going to take guts. And this has become a transactional business where commitment is flying out the window, but it's not everybody. The top 1%, which is how the industry's been designed to serve the top 1%, 99 out of 100 student athletes in our league don't want to be employees, to what Jim Phillips said, and they signed up for a great experience. Like, our responsibility is to make sure we reinforce the mission and create resources around them to have the experience. But that conversation, whatever side of it you're on, should be had to see if there's an option in the future to dramatically improve the economics for the industry. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
Well, thank you, and thank you for mentioning the Army-Navy game, because as you know, I signed an executive order to protect that time slot so that during that, from like 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock or 6:30, I guess, we protect that space, that airspace, so nobody can play a football game, and we have the Army-Navy game protected, because the kind of money that's being thrown around, they were a little bit concerned that the Army-Navy game, as great as it is, may not do so well. I think it would actually do pretty well, but we protected the time spot anyway, so that during that little period of time, it won't have any of this competition where lots of money's being thrown around. I think it was a worthwhile protection, because it really is it is a very special time and a special, very special game. So thank you very much. Great job. Anybody else around?
Mr. President, could I?
Lots of money's being thrown around. I think it was a worthwhile protection, because it really is it is a very special time and a special, very special game. So thank you very much. Great job. Anybody else around?
Mr. President, could I just, before
Yes,
you're being you're given a handout that just has a quick summary bullet points of the composition of the SCORE Act for those that aren't familiar with it. And let me just apologize. I think NIL has been abused, and my staff put my name and image on the top of it really big. And it's sort of ironic and not intended. Sorry about that.
You didn't get paid for it.
Yeah, I didn't get paid anything for it. Yeah, yield back.
Anybody else, please? Cody, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. President, I would like to express my gratitude for your involvement and interest in all of this, and especially personally the opportunity to be involved in helping to find the solution, because college sports, as many have said, changed my life, made me a better businessman, a better husband, better father, and made me better at life in general. This is a complex issue. It's multifaceted. There are a lot of different perspectives on how it should be solved. There are a lot of different agendas that are represented in this room. And the SCORE Act is a good start. It gives us a place that we can build on. But as we move into the Senate, the political dynamics are going to change. And many of the agendas that are represented in this room and outside of this room are going to come into conflict with one another. The reality is nobody's going to get everything that they want. If we're going to come to a solution on this, we have to find a place where we're all sort of equally unhappy, so to speak. That's just like any other business deal. And I think what's key is that we are all willing to come to the table and compromise and work together, recognize that the small schools are important, the big schools are important, women's sports are important, Olympic sports are important. It's not just about big-time college football. And so that may require you twisting some arms along the way to make sure that people work together and are willing to give a little bit and understand that this whole ecosystem of college sports belongs to all of us. It's a national treasure. It's a public trust, as I've heard Clay Travis say before, and I think it's very accurate. And so it belongs to all the American people, and all the American people should share in it. And so I would just encourage everyone here, and I think that might even be a commitment that you could ask everyone to make, is that they will work together, they will compromise, come to the table, and be constructive.
So, Cody, I know you have worked very hard on this, and frankly, you've been working on it long and hard, maybe harder than anybody else. I've heard your name mentioned more than anybody. Could you use this as a base, and we all get together, maybe as a smaller group, and ultimately report back to the larger group and come up with something? Do you think this is a good base?
Yes, sir. I think it's certainly a good base, and it's a great starting point. Again, the dynamics will be different in the Senate, and we'll have to build on it from there. And again, a lot of these tougher issues are going to come to the surface once we get there. But absolutely, we should convene a smaller group that can work on those things and work on the compromises that need to be made to be able to have a bill that can get 60 votes in the Senate.
Is there any way we could go back to the old system, which I thought was fantastic, and do something with some compensation for the players and simplify things so that you'd go back to a scholarship system plus some compensation, more minimal, but, a lot for a player? I mean, for the most part, they would consider it to be a lot. Whether it was $75,000 or $50,000 or maybe more than that. But you go back to that wonderful system that I thought we had until this judge decided to just throw everything out the window. And it's been worked out for years and years, and it was finally honed. And then all of a sudden we're sitting in this crazy neverland where colleges are losing hundreds of millions of dollars, and in many cases not even putting out competitive teams. It's incredible. Is there any way that can work? Coach, we were together, and you had some pretty strong ideas. How would you feel about that?
As a coach, well, first of all, thanks for having us. And
thank you, Coach.
I speak on behalf of so many of my former colleagues that I visit them now, and they're a mess. I don't see coaches sticking around longer. The coaches are getting paid very well, so they leave and enjoy their life, because what they're dealing with is the loss of a locker room. You take away team, and our country's in trouble. My two girls played college volleyball, and one of the greatest interviews I've ever witnessed is she's at Georgia Tech and said, I learned so much more on the volleyball court than I ever learned in any classroom, which I agree with. So I actually think it's a simple fix. And it's not simple unless we get antitrust protection, because the NCAA, when I was growing up in the profession, if you violated a rule, that was a problem. You'd lose your job. And that was made very clear. Throughout litigation and other issues, the NCAA has become, they don't have subpoena power, and every time they make a decision, they get litigated. And I get it. I mean, I witness it, and as a result, and we know this from some of the policies you put in place, rules without enforcement equals chaos. You don't need new rules. We got plenty of rules. Enforce them. So if we get antitrust, then you now will not get litigated. And I would eliminate, the only thing I dislike about the SCORE Act is that and Coach Saban and I have visited about this, Mac Brown and I have visited about this, get rid of the collectives. That's cheating. When donors, so everyone understands what a collective is, donors put money in a pot, it's distributed to players through the coach and the general manager according to your talent level. That's not allowed. You're not supposed to do that. That's called pay for play. So there's a revenue share that the universities get through their television contracts, and I know it goes up every year. That's their only financial, that's the only thing they're allowed to do for their student athletes. They can distribute that however they want. That's still pay for play. But any NIL conversations, which NIL, I think we all got to quit calling it that. It's not name and likeness. These players getting paid millions of dollars in some of the stories I hear, and they're posting an Instagram for twice, and then they're getting paid $1.5 million. So the NIL, to me, NIL in its purest form is America. It's called capitalism. If you can make money on your name, you should have a right to do that. If you're a gymnast, a volleyball player, a swimmer, a football player, and a car dealership wants to work with you legally in the business world, do it. That's what NIL should be. That's not what it is. So you get rid of the collective, becomes an illegal entity. There's no such thing. That even to this day, that makes my skin curl when I hear a collective. Get the donors out of it. If a business owner wants to hire Jeremiah Smith and pay him a certain amount of money, he's certainly allowed to do that. That's called capitalism. But the universities cannot arrange that and set that up. The universities can simply make sure the kids go to school, make sure they graduate, treat them fairly, make sure the women's sports, the Title IX, I'm all in favor of all that, but they cannot get involved in the financial marketing of your players. That's let the market take care of itself. That's called the market. That's called capitalism. And the collective, I think if the collective goes away, college sports gets better immediately when you say that, if we have antitrust exemption.
You know, it's just sitting around and having watched college sports for so long with no problems, what this incompetent judge did to this game, knowing nothing at all about sports, about anything that we're talking about today, is a disgrace. And it's going to be a very hard thing to put back together. We'll get it done. But what this person did to college sports is a disgrace. I say it. And we've seen plenty of those type of opinions. I had one recently, and it's gross incompetence, is my opinion. And everybody suffers, including student athletes, including women. Women are really taking the brunt of it, as what you were saying before. It was so perfect for women. It was so great for women the way it was, and now we have to come up with a whole new scheme to satisfy people, and there are going to be some unhappy people. And it was working before. A person that knew absolutely nothing about sports made a ruling, and she turned the whole thing upside down, and it's really a disgrace. You want to know the truth, a damn disgrace. But we are where we are, and we'll figure something out, and it won't be easy, and it won't be as good. In my opinion, it won't be as good as what you had before, including for the students that were getting great scholarships. And, you know, some went on to professional sports, and most of them didn't, but they got great education. They got it for free, and they had a lot of fun going to college, and they learned a lot. And they had great coaches, many of whom are around the table. They learned more from those coaches in many cases than they learned in the classroom. So, yeah, I appreciate what you say. Don't forget, when these donors or collectors or whatever you want to, all different names for different people, but as that money comes in, that's also money colleges aren't going to get. You know, they're giving money to players as opposed to giving maybe to the college to keep a lot of colleges going. And that's pretty tough also. But it's just a shame, because I got involved just recently, and I looked at what's happened to colleges and to college sports. And it is colleges, because the colleges are going to go out of business, many of these colleges. When I look at what a person that's a judge was able to do to destroy colleges and college sports that was so good, no problems. It's very, very sad. And in some ways, I'd like to just go exactly back to what we had and ram it through a court if we have to, because I'm not sure you're ever going to come up with a system that's comparable to what you had. And, you know, in life, you like to get better, not worse. You like to go forward, not backward. No matter what you come up with, you've gone backward, a long way backward in many cases.
Mr. President.
Yeah, please.
Mr. President.
Hi, Ted.
I want to thank you and echo the thanks for bringing this group together. And I want to in particular underscore the urgency that we have heard around this table. College sports is in absolute crisis. Every single week, we're seeing another program being canceled. We're seeing another women's team being canceled. We're seeing Olympic teams being canceled. And the current chaos, if Congress doesn't act, we are very quickly going to be in a world of 30 to 50 college football teams that are basically a mini NFL, and the Division II and Division III schools are going to be left behind, and the millions of college athletes who right now scholarships provide an avenue for them to get an education that they never would have had, that'll go away. And that would be an absolute travesty if we let that happen. I will say, several people around this table said this is a bipartisan issue and we have bipartisan consensus. I agree it should be a bipartisan issue. But it's worth speaking realistically. The challenge is simple. You asked about the SCORE Act. I think the SCORE Act has many good elements. I think it is a very good first step. But the challenge is for this to be passed into law and put on your desk, we need 60 votes in the Senate, which means we need at least 7 Senate Democrats. Right now, there are 0 Senate Democrats who support the SCORE Act. I've spent the last 3 years negotiating with Senate Democrats on this issue. And I will say for some time we have been, to use a football analogy, at the 2-yard line, but not able to push. And there are interest groups on the left, in particular trial lawyers and unions, that have resulted in Democrat senators that are actively lobbying against the SCORE Act and don't want to see legislation passed. And so my hope, there are a lot of people around this table who care desperately about college sports. My hope is that you speak out to Democrat senators and urge them, let's come together and solve this together. And I think part of a solution needs to be on the cost side. And I think part of the solution should be discussing and looking at the revenue side. I think both of those are important parts of the solution. There are a number of Senate Democrats who care about this but have not quite gotten to the point of getting to yes. That's the single biggest challenge. And I think the collective voices around this table adding to the urgency that if we wait another year, if we wait another 2 years, the programs in your state are going away and the students in your state are losing their scholarships. And it would be an absolute travesty if we let that happen.
Mr. President. Thank you. And I want to underscore that sense of urgency on the Senate side. I do think there's a growing number of senators that do understand that if we're here a year from now, we're in a much worse place. If we're here 2 years from now, college sports looks entirely different, and it would be a disaster. So I do think that growing sense of urgency is important. I appreciate you convening this. You have unique credibility on this, not just being president, but we've spent time at the Super Bowl, watching the Super Bowl, playing golf. You love sports. You have credibility on it. You care about it, and I think that authenticity matters for the leadership that we need. I do think that if we're serious about this, the antitrust exemption matters for the governance side, but I think the revenue side is inextricably linked to the success of this. If you are losing money on a football, and I'm from Missouri, we love, we're in the SEC. If you're losing money on your football program, you're not going to be able to subsidize the women's sports and the Olympic sports. So I do think that we can come together. I am hopeful and optimistic by the people who are represented in this room and as we move forward that we can find a solution. We have to. This is not just because we like watching sports on TV why this is important. There are lives that can be changed forever if we do the right thing. And I think you've got the right people in the room, and I think you're the right guy to lead this effort, and we're here to support those efforts in the Senate.
Could I ask Charlie Baker? Charlie, do you think we could come back to a solution or get a solution that was as good as what we had before, or almost as good as what we had before? Or maybe better, I don't think better, but maybe, Would you say that's possible, Charlie? You're in the position to be able to tell maybe better than anybody else.
Well, first of all, I appreciate the question, because it's at the end of the day the one we all care about the most, which is, can we create a system going forward that's better than the one we have now? And I think the focus people, the thing about the SCORE Act that everybody needs to remember here is it's a comprehensive piece of legislation that deals with a whole series of things that I think everybody would agree are a problem. The discussion, the place where the discussion gets a little more complicated is the issue about the cost and the revenue side, and the implications of those two issues. And if I were to say to this group, where's the place to go, it would probably be there. And do I think if you could get that resolved, you could create something that most people would view as better than what we had before? I think you'd certainly be heading in that direction. The big thing we all have to remember here is that the way it was before, and I'm almost 70, so I remember those days quite well. Sports and media played a completely different role in our society than the one they play now, and the money piece in particular is got to be part of the conversation, and that's got to involve the student athletes. And your point, Mr. President, about coming up with a more structured way of dealing with that, I think is a good one, but that's got to be part of the dialogue for the same reason that the revenue piece has to be part of the dialogue as well.
So much money was paid to students in the form of scholarships. What was the exact number that you said, Charlie, before?
$4.1 billion last year.
$4.1 billion was paid to the students in the form of scholarships, and everybody was happy. Everybody was happy. And now you got yourself a mess. And I think you should just go back to where you have and let some judge tell you can't do it, and you appeal it up and you win at some point, because I think what you had was a great system, $4.1 billion. Everybody was happy. Now you have a thing that you're never going to say. You have a jigsaw puzzle that's not going to be put back together. And colleges are going to go out of business. And I think you go back, and the players that got the $12 million, a 17-year-old quarterback, they got $12 million. One got $14 million. I hear they're negotiating one at $18 million. They don't know if he's got an accurate arm, but he's got a strong arm, coach. Accuracy counts, too. They have no idea. They're going to give him $18 million. And you know what? Those guys that already signed contracts, you know what? Call that the lotto. They hit the jackpot. Let them have their money. You can't do anything about it. But I'd like to see, and I tell you, I just don't think it's right that a judge is allowed, that knows nothing, is allowed to destroy college sports and colleges. And I'd like to see you go back to where you were, enhance it a little bit through some compensation, and let them take you to court, because no matter what you do, you're going to be sued. You can do 100, you could give everybody everything, and you're going to end up back in court, and you'll probably have a judge that doesn't know a damn thing, and it's a mess. It's a mess. And I don't know whether or not that decision was appealed. Was that decision ever appealed? Does anyone know? Because I heard it was not appealed.
I believe the House settlement is being litigated now because it violates.
No, but was it appealed, the decision?
The House settlement, I think.
The original decision by the judge from California, was that appealed?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, the answer is no. It was settled because it was, I think, the third case.
Why didn't somebody appeal it?
The prior case, which is Alston versus the NCAA, was appealed to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court found 9-0 against the college position to defend the old system. So that's, I think the answer is the antitrust piece is the inherent problem in trying to create caps and limits. That's it.
So the Supreme Court was responsible for this? Gee, that surprises me.
I'm not the one who's going to say that. I'm not bold enough to say that, but I'll at least acknowledge the problem.
9-0. 9-0.
Was the Supreme Court responsible for this?
9-0 and Kavanaugh supported.
It's a shame. It's a shame. Yes, sir, please.
Mr. President, thank you for bringing this esteemed group together. I have a bit of a unique perspective because for most of my career I was in professional sports. I became the commissioner 3.5 years ago. I found a system that quickly was defined by unlimited free agency and no salary cap, in complete chaos. And representing the Big 12, we are very much in favor of the SCORE Act. I like to say it's progress over perfection. And it provides, no different than what Commissioner Phillips said, the core principles of what we need to move this thing forward. One thing that we didn't discuss so far today was athlete protection rights, which is obviously part of the SCORE Act. And there's a component there about regulating sports agents that we need to really look at. Now, I know we have some agents in the room, and I have a lot of respect for that industry. But right now, they are taking full advantage of our student athletes. Usually in the NBA or the NFL, it's a 3 to 4, maybe 5% commission. In some cases, they're charging over 20. We talked about the portal. Most agents are pushing our student athletes into the portal, and the recent numbers show that over 40% don't even find a home once they get into the portal. And because they're being pushed into the portal, and Mr. Sankey said it earlier, they're losing credits towards their degrees. So we have a problem on our hands, obviously, and I don't believe in perfection. I do believe in progress, and I think the SCORE Act is a great first step for us to move forward. And on behalf of the Big 12 Conference, we are all in favor of it, and we'd like to see a sense of urgency. We need something done soon, because if not, our universities are going to suffer, our student athletes will suffer, and we need help. So we appreciate you bringing us together today.
Well, it's an honor to do it. I just hate to see what you're going through. I hate to see what's happening to our country, essentially, because this is our country. This is the youth of our country, and it's a terrible thing that's happening because, these crazy payments that are being made colleges are not going to be able to help themselves, just like the NFL owners would not be able to help themselves if they didn't have a cap. But you have a much bigger problem than a cap. And you have a complexity problem. And you have a problem where women are being thrown out of sports, like at levels never seen before. And you're going to have other things that come up that nobody's even thinking about right now. And you're not going to be able to solve these problems. You're just not going to be able to solve these problems. Ted said something before that the Democrats, I think Eric was alluding to it, but you have a lot of Democrats in the Senate that I hear are opposed to almost anything. So if you do, and I have to deal with these people all the time, okay? You saw them the other night. They wouldn't stand up for a soldier that was a great hero and got the Congressional Medal of Honor. They sat there. They wouldn't stand up. They wouldn't even smile. They wouldn't clap. For a woman that lost her daughter whose throat was slashed, they wouldn't stand up. They sat and they didn't stand up. They didn't do anything. And we have to deal with these people. But, Ted, you said that there are 7 Democrats that will not vote yes. Eric, you know the situation better than almost anybody in the room, except maybe me. I have to deal with it even more than you. But, if you've got all these hardline Democrats that want to see everything fail, it's a problem. You know for a fact these people would vote no?
What we need at least 7 who will get to yes, because that's how we get to 60.
Right.
Right now, the SCORE Act has 0. So I'm glad the House is moving it, and they've got some Democrats in the House. That's beneficial, and I think when the House passes it, that momentum is helpful. And there are a number of Senate Democrats. I mean, I've spent literally thousands of hours negotiating with my Democrat colleagues, and there are a number who want to address it, but it is their political leadership that is telling them to stop. And so what has got to happen is the folks in each of the states need to say to your elected Democrats, if you don't act, we're going to lose what is so extraordinary about college sports. And it needs to be something that is in the middle that's a compromise.
Ted, you've already lost it. You've already lost it. Colleges are losing $400–500 million. And they haven't even started yet. So you've already lost it in the true sense. And you've lost something else. It's like it's ugly what's happened to sports in college. Before it was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing, and now it's very ugly. It's become very ugly. And I think you're right. You're going to have people that will never vote for anything, no matter what you agree. You could agree to everything that's perfect, and they will never vote. And I'm not doing this I'm doing this as a practical person. No matter what you agree to, you have people in the Senate and in the House that will never vote for it, even if it's good for our country, even if it's great for the player, great for the college, and great for our country. And they will still vote no. Because they're cuckoo. They've got problems. Maybe it's problems at home, Cody, but they have problems. So that gives us problems. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down with some of the people in this room, like Urban, like Coach, a very fine coach, Nick, who won a lot. He won a lot. How many? 6 national championships? You could have done better. You had a couple of games. Did you win 7? What did you, 6?
7.
7. All right, so I think he qualifies, right? But I'd like to sit down with some of the very talented people in this room, and we'll pick them out. If you'd like to volunteer, volunteer. And I'd like to sign an executive order that I'll write myself based on common sense, and it'll be something that people will be sort of happy about. Some will be sort of happy. Others will be sort of happy. And maybe that's a good thing. There'll be a few people that won't like anything. But I'd like to write an executive order based on some of the very great talent in this room. And we will be sued, and we'll go before a court. And maybe we'll have a judge that's realistic, reasonable, and wants to do a favor for the country, because that's the only way this is going to be solved. So I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to write an executive order based on many of the statements made today, many of the statements I've been hearing over the last year about what a disaster this is for colleges, for the players, for the families, ruining everything. And we're going to do a very well thought out executive order. A lot of you are going to be involved in that. All of you, anybody that would like to, just let me know. And that'll be placed before the courts, and hopefully a judge who's a real judge, a compassionate judge, and a judge with common sense will get it approved. And maybe it won't, and maybe it won't hold up. Maybe they'll say you can't do an executive order, in which case you say, welcome to the court system of this country, which has gone totally out of control, totally out of control. And maybe not. But that's the only way you're going to get this done. So I'm going to write an executive order, and the executive order is going to be based on great common sense, and it's going to let colleges survive and players survive and let a lot of people be very, very happy. And let's see if we can get it through the court system, which we might not be able to do, in which case I guess we'll have to meet again, and we'll probably be through the same system. Look, if this doesn't work, colleges are going to be destroyed. Women's sports are going to be destroyed first, before anything, before anybody, before anything. Women's sports are already being cut in every college. The first thing they're cutting, which is very unfair, is women's sports. And then they're cutting lesser sports. Sports that are very good sports, great sports, are being cut. And you're going to be left with football, and the football is going to lose so much money that the colleges are all going to go bankrupt, all because of a bad number of decisions made by courts, including, I guess, the Supreme Court, if you say it was a bad decision in the Supreme Court. I think the Supreme Court ought to be ashamed of itself for a lot of reasons, okay? A lot of reasons. I got to live with these people, and I say this, and they'll only vote bad, and I couldn't care less at this point. They have hurt this country so badly because they haven't had the guts to do what's right. So, and I can tell you about other things too, not just this. So we're going to do an executive order, and I think it's going to be an executive order that the people in this room and the students and the colleges will be proud of. Whether or not it holds up in court, I can't tell you that. But you're not going to get it through the Senate, and you're probably not going to get anything through the House because you have a bunch of lunatics that you have to deal with, Mike, and better you than me. Go ahead.
Well, I applaud the effort for an executive order, and I think everybody around the table is grateful for that. Might I suggest, Mr. President, that while you're using the Article 2 authority, that we still work in the lane of Article 1. The playbook has to be wider than that, I think. And so what I would suggest, and humbly before everyone here, is that we take, I think almost everyone around the table we've heard today believes that at least the SCORE Act is a base to work from. Can we still continue to try to work through that? We do have some Democrat support, and as was said, we've got some fine points to get to.
Would love to work with you on it.
Okay, and what I think is, and what I was hopeful for, is that the leaders around this table, representing such a broad array of interests and groups around the country and both parties, that the influence, collective influence of the, I hate the word collective, Coach Meyer, I'm sorry, I keep saying collective, but the influence of all the people around this table could help us get some of those critical, Democrat votes in the Senate. And I don't think we should or could abandon that effort. We try it. I'm an optimist.
I think you go both ways.
Yes.
Let me do an executive order. You go ahead and play games with these people.
Okay.
Okay?
We'll give it the quarterback effort.
Give it a shot. Okay. And maybe the fact that we do the one helps you get the votes in the other. Okay?
Right.
Does that sound okay, Randy?
Yeah, I think so. And I think at the end of the day, Mr. President, as you've heard here, we need an antitrust exemption. And the only people who can do it are the Congress. And I heard from all the senators and the representatives, and I agree the SCORE Act is a start, but with your leadership, I really do believe we can move the ball. I have ideas. Brilliant people here have ideas where we can add on it. And based on my conversations with Democrats, I think they want to do this. I think the Congresswoman said that, and I think that there's a way to do this. And your executive order, again, showing leadership, stepping out, is good, but I think we go on both.
Don't forget, the executive order can then be put before Congress, and Congress can vote on it, change it a little bit, vote on it. But I'm looking to do it straight and let Congress go a different path. And, you may get a judge that understands what's happening, and you may get some very good opinions coming out of a very smart judge who will be beloved all over our country, as opposed to hated and disrespected. So that's it. So, Randy, could I ask you to do the following? Either a sampling of it or get everybody in some form, come up with a proposal, play with the SCORE Act or do something different than the SCORE Act, but maybe you use the SCORE Act as a base. I separately will get some of the people in this room, and we're going to do a really good executive order. And maybe Jim will put that executive order in front of the Senate and the House. And who knows, maybe we get a vote, and maybe we don't. But I'm talking about not even going before the Senate and the House, just having an executive order where we'll be sued, and we'll go before the courts, and here we go again. But I think at the same time, you go down a separate track. Is that all right? Okay? Is that Good. Other than that, we've had a great time.
Can I?
The press will take one or two questions, please.
Thank you, President Trump. It sounds like the Russians are helping Iran target and attack Americans now.
That's an easy problem compared to what we're doing here. But can I be honest? It's just, I have a lot of respect for you. You've always been very nice to me. What a stupid question that is to be asking at this time. We're talking about something else. Can we keep this maybe a little bit? Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. On eligibility, as you know, my son, Joe, is a high-level D1 athlete, third-year relief pitcher, University of Maryland.
How would I know that?
We're very involved.
He said, as you know,
because I've told you.
the guy is.
I've told you that.
That's all right.
Thank you. But the eligibility thing is a disaster in the NCAA. You have the redshirt system, you have the medical system, it's all being scammed, and in a week or two, Division the second division, D2, is passing a blanket 5-year eligibility without medical, without redshirt, just a 5-year eligibility. That can be solved in D1 with the commissioners in this room right now. Why don't we solve it?
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to know the same thing. You know why you're not going to solve it? Because we've had some very, very bad, incompetent decisions. Things that were routine before, that were solved long before. Now you're into a brand new system. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Mr. President. Thank you. Could you tell us what went into your decision to replace Secretary Noem with Senator Markwayne Mullin?
I'm going to do this one
Is
in
it possible to... You know, just for once. Boy, oh boy. Anybody have any questions on this subject?
Thank you, Mr. President. What is your timeline for either the executive order that you just mentioned or the legislation that the members
I will have an executive order within 1 week.
Well,
and it'll
would it
be
take
very,
effect before
it'll
the
be
fall
very
semester for colleges and
all-encompassing. And we're going to put it forward, and we're going to get sued, and we're going to see how it does. Okay? But I'll have an executive order which will solve every problem in this room, every conceivable problem, within 1 week. And we'll put it forward. We will get sued. That's the only thing I know for sure in life. And we'll see how we do in the court system.
Would it take effect, sir?
But the courts have destroyed. The courts.
Yes, sir.
Think about it. The courts, a bad court system has destroyed college sports and colleges in this country and a lot of lives.
Mr. President,
yeah, please.
Mr. President, how will your executive order be different from the one that you released in July?
You mean than the SCORE Act? Well, it'd be a lot different because I don't necessarily agree with the SCORE Act. I don't know it as well as some people in this room, but I disagree with some of the things in the SCORE Act.
No, the executive order you released in July, how will this one that you're writing this week be different?
It'll be more comprehensive. That was put out as a test, as a feeler. This will be much more comprehensive because we've all learned a lot in the last pretty long period of time, 6 months or so period of time. I think we could do a very good document. I think we could do a document that works from a common sense standpoint. Whether or not it's going to hold up in court, who knows? Honestly, it will depend on the judge. Maybe we'll get a wise judge. There are wise judges, too. We got some very brilliant, wise judges. Maybe we'll get lucky.
Athletes in the room. Why aren't there any student athletes in the room?
Why aren't there any student athletes in the room?
Do you want to answer that question, Randy?
We've made it clear, and I thought I said it before, that we have agents here. There are a lot of student-athlete groups. There's a limited room here, and after this meeting, we intend to talk to all of the interested student-athlete groups to get their input, because this can't be done without them. But at the end of the day, we had to kick this off and start it. This is the beginning. This isn't the end. I've talked to a lot of people who represent student-athletes, and there are certain interest groups that I'm sure would have liked to be here, but they'll have their opportunity.
They're very well represented. You know why? Because people like Nick Saban and Urban Myers and some of the people, all the people that I know in the room, and the people probably that I don't know, they all care very much about the student athlete, more so than they care about themselves. So I think they're really here in that sense. They're represented very well. Peter, I'll give you one more chance because that was a bad question you asked before. Go ahead.
We've already got a lot of sound bites
leave him in the
about the sports. Can I ask one off topic?
On topic.
On topic. Okay.
Which is unusual for you. Go ahead.
Thank you.
She's got nothing.
What is motivating you to do this right now? Because there is a lot of other stuff going on in the world.
Right. That's right. There's a lot. We're doing by the way, in Iran, we're doing very well. Somebody said, how would you score it from 0 to 10? I said, I'd give it a 12 to a 15. Their army is gone. They're just about, look, their navy is gone. Their Communications are gone. Their leaders are gone. 2 sets of their leaders are gone. They're down to their 3rd set. Their Air Force is wiped out entirely. Think of it. They have 32 ships. All 32 are at the bottom of the ocean. Other than that, they're doing very well, Coach. Very well. We're doing, our military is doing phenomenally. That's the big thing for this week. We seem to have a new thing every week, but the situation with a very bad and very sick group of leaders who were killing a lot of people. A lot of our people were being killed. They were being maimed. They were being destroyed with their bombs all over the place, planted in roads, and we call them the roadside bombs, walking around without legs, without arms, face blasted, killed many, many people. And we had a choice. We could take it and go on like that for years or do something about it. And we did something about it. And people are very impressed with our military, and they admire our military with what happened in Venezuela, what's happening now, what's happened with the B-2 bombers before this, where they took out the nuclear capability or potential of Iran. I think we're right now we're a country that's more respected than we've ever been respected before. I saw what was happening with college sports, and it doesn't sound very important compared to what's happening in Iran and other places, but it is very important to me. And if I can get it done, I'll get it done. Through a bad system, it's a bad system. Through a bad legal system, you want to know the truth, we have a situation that is almost unsolvable. And we'll see if we can solve it. And, you know, Peter, the fact is we're talking about colleges that are going to go out of business by many, many colleges are going to be out of business. This isn't just about student athletes. This is about our whole educational system is going to go out of business because of this. So I understand what you're saying in terms of the level of importance, but to me this is very important. Very, very important. Thank you. Okay, thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Just stop my mic, hold on.
He kissed a man. I don't know if you saw that. But anyway, wow. They talked for nearly 2 hours. Can I give you a secret? I'm going to give you a secret. The executive order is already written. Oh, yeah, it's already done. They already know what they're going to do. What I think, my opinion, I think you just saw something brilliant. I could be wrong. I could be proven wrong. I do feel at this point the executive order he was talking about is already written. He kept mentioning it. Executive order, executive order, executive order. What's your turnaround time? About a week. There's no way. There's no way you could have this done in a week if you already didn't have it ready to go. So that's my feeling there. Number two, I know I'm a Trump fan. I know I'm a Trump supporter. People are going to say I'm just, bootlicking here, but that was effing genius. Let me tell you why. President Trump just spent 2 hours talking about something that crosses the aisle. I live down here in the South. I know what the SEC is all about. I know what goes on college campuses. I understand football and basketball and a couple other of the sports in regards to what they mean to people. And they mean the same to people on the left and people on the right. This is an issue that crosses the aisle. And he's going to turn this on the socialist nut jobs who are trying to attack college sports. You notice this came right after everything you saw about the Olympic hockey team. And it didn't go well for the Democrats whatsoever. So he had an opportune time to strike right now. They had nothing. There was nothing they could do to stop the exuberance of the entire country supporting the Olympic hockey team. He knows, as well as you should know at this point, the whole country, except for the small group of libtards on X, was ecstatic and happy for what they saw. And so now with this executive order, he is going to force this to be an election issue, because now the Democrats have to come out and say they're against college sports. Imagine that. Imagine some little dweeb, that one guy who can't talk too much. He talks about college. Imagine him talking about Ohio State football, Michigan football, and saying these kids, and we're against you doing anything. I can't wait to see Democrats come out against, publicly come out against doing something for college athletes, especially some of those college athletes being women, if they can define what a woman's sport is. So now he has elevated another issue that crosses the aisle. There probably weren't too many trolls in here today, because they like, if you're not a limp-wristed nut, you like football, you like basketball, you like baseball, you like it all. Doesn't mean you're a Republican or a Democrat. It means you like the school, you like the sport. And now he has put that right smack dab into the public purview, and he's going to make these people take a side. I am completely confident that executive order is already written. I'm pretty sure when he came in there, he already knew what he was going to do. A couple of the people in that room I personally know, and a couple of the people I personally know ask questions, and I also know a couple of those people are Democrats, but they don't care. This is about their position in a collegiate atmosphere where they have to protect the athletes who don't get the big $1 million contracts. Arch Manning, who plays for Texas, just to give you guys an idea, Arch Manning, the quarterback of Texas, Peyton Manning is his uncle, Eli Manning is his other uncle. He gets close to $7 million a year at NIL. $7 million. And he goes to the University of Texas. And I am pretty sure that some girl playing on the University of Texas volleyball team not seeing anywhere near $7 million. She'll never see $7 million. She'll never see $100,000. And President Trump has now made it an issue where everybody at this point, I was going to say pick a side. There's no side to pick. Any of us that went to college, any of us that watches on Saturday, any of us that have children or grandchildren in college, we all feel the same way. Make this, you can't stay in college for 9 years. You can't say, listen, okay, I'm going to transfer this year because this school is going to give me an extra 200 grand. You can't do that. That takes the essence of sports away from college. It destroys the word amateur. You see, one of the things that not a lot of people realize when you're watching the Olympic hockey team and you remember the Miracle on Ice, the reason why the Miracle on Ice was such a big deal, because those were all amateurs playing against the Soviet pros. When you just watch the Olympics now, every single one of those guys playing is millionaires. They all play for other NHL teams. The professionalism and the paid athlete has basically made the non-paid athlete nearly irrelevant. Even if you are with a good school down here at University of Miami, Carson Beck is the quarterback. He used to play for the Georgia Bulldogs. Miami offered him a whole boatload of money. The kid got a real Maserati or a Lambo, I forget. And he was able to cruise around down here with his brand new Lambo or Maserati. I can't remember. And he'd been in school for 6 years. President Trump just put out a masterclass. You may not realize it because you may not follow football or any of the other sports that closely, but most people do. And it's perfect timing. Like I said before we started, we just got done with the NFL Combine, so it's fresh in people's minds. And then we got the NFL free agency, then we got the NFL draft, and this stuff happens rapidly. Bam, 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 bam. NFL draft, preseason camps open, and then before you know it, the season's here. And some schools will. I mean, wait a minute. Before that, we got March Madness in a couple weeks. Actually, March Madness may begin this weekend. The entirety of the college sports world has been turned on its head because of NIL. And I have no problem with kids making money. I hope they make as much money as possible because I know what goes into being a stellar athlete for a university. But something's got to give with this whole transfer portal. And like Urban Meyer said, if you get a brand, if Nestle wants to pay you $1 million to come out and endorse their product, that's fine. If they don't sell anything, they won't come back. But when you get boosters coming in and saying, let's put $10 million in a pot and we'll decide how we're going to divide that money, you got a problem. Big problem there. So how do I know this was important? I know it was important because President Trump spent 2 hours with an entire room of other people to talk about something in it, like what Peter Ducey said. And, you got a whole bunch going on. You got wars, and he goes, why are you doing this? You should know before you ask the question. He's exposing this, and it's going to be something else that the Democrats are going to have to fight. Yeah, March Madness has begun. Okay, yeah, I saw that Lehigh hit like a half-court shot to win, so that was huge. All right, so I had a bunch of stuff left over for talk about Cuba, but I'm going to save that tomorrow. Hopefully, President Trump will actually be doing a speech, and I'll do my Cuba stuff right before the speech because we've already been here 3 hours and 15 minutes. So I'm going to go home and eat and chill with the wife and the doggies, and then I'll be ready tomorrow to talk about Cuba. By the way, tomorrow is the fishing trip. Remember a while back we gave away a fishing trip? Well, the first couple, there's two sets of people who won. The first set is going tomorrow. They're going to go on a boat with Robin. So I'm going to have hopefully all kinds of video for you, video and pictures for you by the time they get back, and I can edit it. So Robin and a man and his wife are going to be going on a fishing trip tomorrow. And it looks like it's probably going to be a beautiful day out there on the ocean. So you ask why I don't go. I'll go to the boat. I'm going to greet everybody. I'll take some pictures. But I don't feel like getting sick all over the place. So I'm going to let them have some fun. And then we'll watch the video tomorrow. And hopefully President Trump, I'll get the schedule whenever President Trump is going live tomorrow. And then we'll talk about Cuba. But yeah, we have that first person that will be here tomorrow, and they are going fishing with Robin. So they're going to have a great time. And then, you know what, depending on how that goes, because we had a whole lot of people sign up. So I think we're going to do it again as well because it worked really well. And then, oh, wait a minute. So let me just tell you. They're going fishing in the morning, and then when they get back, we're going to all go out to dinner tomorrow night, myself, Robin, and the couple. So we're going to have fishing pictures, and we'll have dinner pictures, and it's pretty awesome. They get their hotel room. I think they're going to have a great time. So let me do Super Chats and hold Cuba until tomorrow. All right, here we go. Making Blankenship. Good afternoon, Barry and the Fabulous Mods. Not much on sports except fishing, but if Trump is on and you're commenting on it, then I'm with you and enjoying. Good for you. Good for you. Open your mind. Broaden your horizons. Roberto, and then the Lamb broke the seventh seal. There was 30 minutes of silence in heaven. Okay. No tie. Thanks, Barry. The liver detox really works great. Told ya, it works. George Rivera, another aspect of Kristi Noem. Did you catch Trump's vision of a golden dome for the entire Western Hemisphere and that she will have a leadership role? Yep, I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. Brian, they want us to give Iran a participation trophy. Yeah, they're getting a whole bunch of participation trophies, aren't they? Being delivered first class. Boom. Get this game animal. Barry, love your coverage. May Almighty God bless you, the mods, and all of your families. Thank you very much. That's so nice. Ed, Trump realized it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. Yeah, understand when he does this whole thing with the executive order and then he signs it and then they're going to have to basically put it in court someplace. It's going to take some time. So, who knows how long it'll be. We'll see. To inspire, thank you, Barry, for all you do. I pray this goes towards Bibles. Thank you. As I thank my Father God gives me another year on Sunday. Congratulations. Happy birthday. May all of you have a blessed weekend. Keep praying, Patriots, that America will be great again. Yes. To inspire, I think each moderator as this type is not too good. Cannot leave the wonderful moderators out. I love all of you. Thank you very much for thinking of them. Hey, John. Hey, Barry. You lit my real estate fire. You got wholesale deals flooding in. Need your expertise to take advantage and hold on to the rocket. It's a good problem. Help. Can we connect? Yeah. Have one of the mods. If one of SV or somebody can give, or Beth can give this, give John the email, so we can hook up. John Filippo. Thanks, Barry. My wife can't wait for her Bible, and you pronounce my last name perfect. Love your show. Oh, it's coming. I got the email, and it's coming. Buddy Sanders, courts are killing America. Yeah, I think Shakespeare had it right about lawyers. We don't hate the media enough. No, you don't. Troy Burnham, noticed in yesterday's show, Andrew Jackson was mentioned in 2 different speeches. Your thoughts? Keep watching. Andrew Jackson and President James Monroe. Keep watching. John says, Barry, what position did you play? I was on either side of the ball, but normally, most of the time, as a center and having people put their hands under my butt. But it was fun. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great Friday evening.